Tennessee sports station.
92.3 The Fan, 2020 Sports.
This 2020 Sports brought to you by Smiley One Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing, and Bryant, Cleveland's premier heating and cooling service providers. Guardians rallied from 3 runs down, but eventually would lose to the White Sox 6-5. Skipper Stephen Vogt liking how his guys, they didn't give up, gosh darn it.
That was obviously a tough way to end it, but I was so proud of our guys. I mean, we kind of couldn't get anything going. The first inning, we got the rally going, and McKay pitched his way out of it, but really proud of the way we came charging back there in the 7th and then kept going, and really proud of the way we played tonight.
Cade Smith blown the save, giving up a 2-run single in the bottom of the 9th. White Sox take the series opener. Club's now tied for first in the AL Central, both with a winning percentage of .519. Gavin Williams failed in his 3rd attempt to win his 10th game of the season, gives up 2 runs over 5 innings, struck out 8 in the loss. Khalil Watson got his first big league hit, 2-run single. Watson had started 0 for 12 with 8 strikeouts. Guardians right fielder Chase DeLauders resumed baseball activities after suffering a right rib cage fracture earlier this month. The Guardians hoping DeLauder could be ready to be activated off the injury list at some point during the club's upcoming homestand, which begins on Friday. Browns going to have their rookies report for the start of training camp on July 23rd. NFL announcing the report dates on Monday. Veterans for the Browns set to report to Berea on July 28th. The Browns also will do a joint practice with the Buffalo Bills on August 20th, again in Berea. Reports say the Milwaukee Bucks trading Giannis Antetokounmpo to the Miami Heat. Word is that Bobby Portis also heading to Miami. The Bucks getting back 4 players, including All-Star guard Tyler Hero. Milwaukee also receives 3 first-round draft picks, including the 13th overall selection in tonight's draft. With the Bucks, Giannis was a 2-time NBA MVP and won the NBA championship in 2021. Can now find 92.3 The Fan on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Get the best content from our shows each and every weekday. That's 92.3 The Fan on YouTube. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas. Up next, after the Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima here on 92.3 The Fan.
Catch Afternoon Drive with Nick Wilson and Jonathan Peterlin live on YouTube each and every weekday from 2 to 7 p.m. The Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima.
This was a 13-month trade saga for Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Milwaukee Bucks. Just to put it plainly, Giannis felt like his time was up with the Bucks a calendar year ago. Giannis was not willing to commit long-term, so they are now moving him. And you think about the haul that the Bucks got after negotiating with Boston and Miami in the last few weeks. You get Tyler Hero, that's a homecoming for him. Khalil Ware, a young center. Jaime Jaquez, a good two-way wing. You get Kasparas Yakashonis, who's just 20 years old, an up-and-coming guard. And then they get a significant return of draft capital. 3 first-round picks unprotected, including the 13th pick in the draft on Tuesday night. Pat Riley has landed his white whale. We know his history. Shaquille O'Neal, Alonzo Mourning, LeBron James, Chris Bosh, Jimmy Butler, and now Giannis is walking into Miami to play in South Beach with Bam Adebayo. The job for the Heat isn't done, but that's a pretty strong duo to start with.
This is Cleveland Sports Radio, 92.3 The Fan.
Audio courtesy ESPN. Good morning.
Hey there, Kenny.
The long, I thought it was longer than 13 months when it came to trading Giannis, to be honest with you. I thought that was more like 3 years. It kind of took, the lead up to it kind of took all the fun and excitement out of a possible superstar being traded because it had been talked about so much. And, well, he doesn't really hate Milwaukee, he just doesn't want to play with the Bucks anymore and this, that, and the other. I'm like, okay. And then what he got traded for, I'm going to acquiesce to you because I looked at it and I go, I woke up this morning at 3:20. I didn't check my phone I didn't check social media or anything for another 20 minutes. And I looked and I was like, basically, did he just get traded from like a play-in team to a play-in team? Is basically what this turns into in so many ways? Or
honestly, looking at everything from a Cavs perspective, and things have been awfully quiet with the Cavs, to me, this was way better for the Cavs than if he got traded to Boston. Just given what Miami had to do, how they had to kind of gut all their other peripheral talent around Bam, I don't really think this... Unless, like, there's one thing that could happen, which is Giannis just gets right back into top 3 player in the NBA mode, plays both ends. But, you know, the health assessment on this is kind of a big deal. I did also see that supposedly he was willing to go to Minnesota, and then Cleveland never came up. Does that mean that he he thought those other rosters were in better shape. So I do not think this Miami team with Giannis, I don't think they're necessarily better than the Cavs.
No, I don't.
This year.
I don't.
I know Vegas is as down on the Cavs as they've been in a while, but we also don't know, what moves, if any, could be coming up for the Cavs as well. I think it's a little too early. It's premature. But right now, it's so funny. Cavs get to the one of the final four teams, and Vegas was with them right up until they lost that Knicks game, and that first Knicks game in Game 1, and now they've completely abandoned them. So I find that interesting too.
Yeah,
but
now they're in a 3-way tie for the 7th best odds.
But overall, like I think this is way better in the Eastern Conference for the Cavs going to Miami than it is going to Boston.
I think you're right. Now that's going to sound, our initial reaction sounds like it almost sounds a little bit like sour grapes, but we really weren't making a big deal because we weren't in it. So at first, last year there was some heat, or I should say last trade deadline before February, there was a little heat to it of hey, they're kind of interested in Giannis, and there was conversation. I don't know if there was conversation between the team, but there was obviously conversation amongst all of us about all that stuff. But then that just kind of died away, and the Cavs didn't seem to have a chance in hell. And so we kind of all just moved on. Because I remember the big argument was, at that time, Nick had brought up, and this is only terribly a few months ago, Nick had brought up he wasn't ready to move on from Evan Mobley for Giannis Antetokounmpo. Now, honestly, I do think the postseason did change maybe some people's opinions on him, depending on how much Evan Mobley you've watched this year. Because I thought Evan Mobley had a really good postseason, with the exception of a couple games. But I thought he had a really good postseason. And so I think the argument can be made that you would hold on to Evan Mobley and not move on from him to a 31 going on 32-year-old guy who's had injury problems these last couple of years now. Because he's not coming to the Cavs, I do make him out to be a little bit older than what he is. He is a very good basketball player. He's also a 1%er. He does improve things in Miami. I just don't think it improves things to the point where what he wanted. Unless he just wants the Miami lifestyle of just Miami and no income tax and all that other stuff.
They're very thin. They are very thin, which was part of, I think Tom Haberstroh coined it as he called it the gut tax, that you gut your team to go get one of the superstars. And he had a list of, this has been done 11 times up until this. This would be
Tom
number
Haberstroh
12.
did this?
Yes,
Yeah.
and it's only worked out. Anthony Davis with the Lakers is the only time that it's truly worked out. I don't know if you throw the Knicks in there, if you consider, they did use all their assets to go after OG and, Bridges.
I just thought that kind of made him deeper, though. You look at the guys who helped out during that postseason run. Yeah, it's kind of a deep team, wouldn't you think?
Yeah,
the Knicks?
When Landry Shamet comes in and looks like Klay Thompson.
It's hitting threes for you.
He had never been that useful ever in his entire career, and he's played for league minimum. But so now, honestly, now that the Giannis stuff is finally done, and I could hear the aggravation. Nick was on in the afternoon yesterday, and he was calling Giannis every name in the book, which just always goes to fortify that there's no good way for this stuff to ever end.
What did he say about Giannis? I didn't hear it. I'm sorry.
He said he didn't have a dog in him. He called him a noob. He said,
noob.
That's just the way this all played out, because he was talking out of both sides of his mouth, which he was. But
who, Giannis?
Yeah.
Okay.
But Giannis has also been there how long and won a championship. I kind of feel like when you've been at a place for over a decade and you've won a championship, and the team can't really improve materially around you, well, I think you get to leave.
Well, I think
I don't know. Is that wrong?
I look at it from an outside perspective. Okay, obviously. But didn't we not just go through this with Miles to some degree? Now, Miles is the best to do it at his position for the organization. Milwaukee still has Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in their history, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is better than Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis is very, very good, but he's not Kareem, for crying out loud. There were different reasons, reading back, there's different reasons why Kareem wanted to go. But I think Giannis was trying. See the both sides of his mouth thing. I think he was trying to be very tactical, because I think that he understands that there is a championship here, so there is a future with the fan base and him. That they will always be connected no matter what. See, now I'm only hearing the secondhand. Again, I was very busy yesterday afternoon. I didn't get a chance to hear Nick say these words. All right, so I'm not trying to attack Nick here, but I think Miles still has his 1%. I don't think he's divested it yet. His 1% or 5% or whatever it is with the Cavs. I don't know what his future is here in Northeast Ohio, but I think that Miles understands that, yeah, as of right now, like if his career ended today, he'd be going in as a Cleveland Brown, and there's history there. And I think that he's trying to be nice with the fan base and not trying to be a jerk on his way out. I think Giannis is trying to do the same thing, and Giannis has a championship, so he'll be back for the 10 and 20 and 30-year anniversaries there. So you don't want any nastiness there. It's only bad for business, especially in a town that, you have one team on each sport, and they're a good sports town. So if you're a good sports town, they're gonna look at it differently from a place like, hey, let's be honest, Miami, where you're going to. I think that Giannis just tried to hurt as few fans' feelings as possible while trying to be as honest as possible about what this team is and why he can't be with them anymore. And because it was a long time coming, yeah, I think that Nick's probably right in being annoyed because it took so long. The noob thing, that's just, that don't make any sense to me. But the both sides of the mouth, hey, it's hard. You're a villain. You're not. You could say all the nice things, but you're not there anymore. Like Myles Garrett can say all the nice things he wants to. He's not with the Browns anymore. But
yeah, there's no perfect way.
I do think it's a little bit more complex than just he's not here anymore. To hell with him. No, there's a history there.
Maybe, and when LeBron did this to us originally, it obviously was a tectonic shift in what your expectation as a fan should be.
Well, it changed the league for a decade, too.
Well, and every sport, honestly, sport. How many years do you think you're owed as a fan base from a player? And
7.
Does it matter if they win a title?
7. In the NBA, I think I'm owed the first 7.
But in any sport, how many do you honestly think you like Miles? At a certain point, it's like, yeah, your team also has a responsibility to be somewhat competitive.
Yeah, well, and I think we're kind of doing this in the NBA, too, because it's not just what it changed for the last decade. I mean, do you have the new CBA with the second apron had it not been for LeBron in 2010? I think you can draw conclusions back to that. Sorry. Well, so I think you're right. And I think it's an opportunity for Milwaukee to kind of reset themselves and go forward. Like, again, when we traded Miles, there were some people who called in and they were pissed, but there wasn't that many people who were really upset. They might have been upset because they didn't really know much about Jared Verse, so it felt like we should have got more picks for that. And I will admit, like, I even wanted more picks and Jared Verse because we always are going to overrate our own players, and he's a golden god. Miles is to us and to me.
And yet, after what we got, we're considered the best offseason team in the NFL.
According to Josh Edwards, we had, excuse my voice cracking twice. According to Josh Edwards, we had the best offseason in the NFL, courtesy of CBS.
This is the best offseason we've had.
I think it is a chance for Milwaukee Bucks fans. Like, I don't know if I'd be talking trash about him out the door. You won a championship. He's the biggest reason you won a championship. I think he tried to do it the right way. I'd be a little bit upset it's been dragged on for so long. I mean, that might be why I'm a little bit upset. But other than that, I don't know why I don't think a Bucks fan is upset today. Maybe I'm wrong. Like, Menigan's from Wisconsin. I don't know if he's from Milwaukee, but he's from Wisconsin. Maybe Menigan's going to come in today ready to spit fire. And
well, I'll tell you, the now the conversation will shift. Now that is finally done, and the NBA draft, is it tonight? We get the NBA draft tonight, where there's been zero buzz, for the Cavs, other than they might try to get out of the first round because it helps them, with the second apron and all of that. But now the conversation shifts to, is Jaylen Brown and his relationship with the Celtics now soiled? Because his name clearly came up. They clearly were dangling him as part of a Giannis trade. And now, are these going to be irreconcilable differences between the two? And I guess you got to wait till the next stream, a Twitch, whatever he ends up doing. But
we got to wait for anything.
We had a Twitch last night.
We got Jaylen Brown. This is on his Twitch?
Yeah.
All right, let her ride.
Somewhat grateful because I get to see some negativity that I didn't want, but that just gives more fuel to the fire. I get to see some comments or takes that I didn't even care to see, but it just gives me more fuel to the fire. So all the people that's doubting me, that want me to do this or want me gone or whatever, you turning me into a monster.
He's not taking the whole thing very well right now.
No, you don't think?
No. Well, you had, who was it last night? Kevin O'Connor said, sources say Bucks owner Jimmy Hasslam was the driving force in taking the Heat deal for Giannis over Boston. Hasslam didn't want to risk Jaylen Brown wanting out of Milwaukee after a year, just like Giannis wanted out, and after dealing with Myles Garrett's trade demands too.
All right, I'm going to get to the Jaylen Brown thing coming up at 6:23 because I got to think about this, okay? When it comes to the Jimmy thing, did I just not make the comparison with Myles? So, I mean, I'm guilty as charged as well. When it comes to Jimmy, now that'd be something I'm upset with if I'm a Bucks fan. Go, why are we doing this rotation of who's in power on my favorite basketball team? I mean, that would drive me nuts. That would, because you're going to, to me, it just sets you up for the same thing the Browns have been going through for the last how many years, but it's natural. Like when you fire guys so quickly, now they haven't fired Andrew Barron in a long time, but history shows they fired guys very quickly. You bring in new people, they do different things, they do things differently. There's just been different owners. And Randy Lerner was a little bit not as guilty of it as Jimmy Hasslam is, but Randy Lerner was too. Now you go to the Bucks and you're rotating power. Like if you're one of the minority owners of the Bucks, who's the other guy? Who's the owner of the Bucks? Eden. So Edens or whatever it is. The second you take over power, you might have to feel like you need to undo everything that Jimmy Haslam's done. If you're coming in as the new power owner of the Milwaukee Bucks and it's your turn to play with the toy. So that just sets me off in a different direction. When you saw that report, did you understand where maybe Jimmy was coming from what Kevin O'Connor said, or do you feel differently about that?
No.
Do you feel he handled it poorly then?
No, I mean, they end up getting 3 unprotected first-round picks, which, the way, if you've been paying attention to the new lotto configuration, if Giannis goes down with an injury, holy cow, like this could end up being, in terms of draft capital, and Giannis, of course, was getting to pick which teams he'd get to go to, because while he didn't have a no-trade clause, he also got the extension talk afterwards. It was going to limit, the types of teams he could go to. So I think overall Milwaukee ended up doing pretty favorably. But I'm more focused on, so the Jaylen Brown part of this is not interesting to you?
No, it is. I said we do it at 6:23. But I mean, we got to talk about Jimmy Haslam. I mean, you just read the Jimmy Haslam tweet, and I'm just trying to put 2 and 2 together here. And when I see the Jimmy Haslam report, It obviously there's a connection there with the Browns, and it does make me think like, okay, it makes sense now. Did he believe that Jaylen Brown wasn't going to sign an extension to be with the Milwaukee Bucks?
I read that from him.
Okay, well then that makes sense because now you're thinking, all right, I just learned this because Jared Verse is going to sign a contract with the Browns next year. He's not eligible to do one yet. He'll sign one at the end of next season.
Very different sport.
Yes, but you get a really good defensive end back, and you're going to have him for what you see to be the next 5 years at least, right? So you're getting someone back. He wanted someone back. Like Jaylen Brown is an exceptional basketball player, obviously, and I think he has every right to be pissed, and I'm going to get more into that coming up here shortly. But I think that he would want that player back and the picks, and he wasn't able to do so, so fine, off you go to Miami, and they'll probably turn around and move Tyler Hero and move a couple of the other guys that they just got.
Honestly, I think Milwaukee played this perfectly. They took their time. There never had to be truly a rush, and I think they pretty much maxed out what they could get for Giannis. Maybe they could have got more 2 years ago, but you owe it to your team to try and see if you could do a little more. So I think a lot of people are piggybacking the 2 moves together as what a disaster Jimmy Haslam was. Like any owner would have traded Giannis at this stage. Kind of had to.
Well, exactly, because he had to. Can I ask you, are there 1 or 2 players for the Cavs in that core 4? I don't know if you can call it a core 4 anymore, but still the main 4. I just want a yes or no that you would trade for Jaylen Brown right now.
Well, there's 1. Yeah.
And I want to know who that is at 6:23 on The Fan. Friends, Ken Carman here for Northeast Factor Direct.
Hydration.us.
If you can't listen to us live, we've got you covered. You can hear the Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima, Baskin and Phelps, an afternoon drive with Nick Wilson and Jonathan Peterlin as a podcast. Full hours, full shows. Find it all on the Odyssey app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere you get your podcasts.
Social media reactions on X brought to you by
Shivan Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store.
I'm in a full-on shoot. Full-on shoot. Like, I don't even want to read the guy because he tweets at us a lot, and I don't want to put him on blast. All right, I'm just going to say, a guy named Chaser who tweets at the show a lot. And I wrote this morning, I said, I just woke up and checked my phone, and I'm sorry if someone already said this, but did Giannis go from one play-in team to another play-in team? And the response I get is, and are the Cavs a play-in team as well in 26-27? I'm going, what effing team have you guys been watching? What has happened? I want to know. I want to know. And I should thank him. You should thank him because now I might just go off on a tangent. And I know you like me when I'm really mad.
I do.
I want to know. I'm serious. What effing team have you been watching these last 4 years? Where is the disconnect, guys? Where is it? Where's the disconnect? I mean, this post, the Instagram thing that Owen sent me before he went to Florida, where it's, I really miss this group of guys, and it was one of those terrible suck-ass Cavs teams that won 19 games a few years ago when they had Kevin Love rage quitting in Toronto. What happened? What broke you with the Cavs? What happened? I'm serious. What is the diagnosis?
You know what it is. It's they traded their boy, Darius Garland, who was on playing teams.
Why was I having...
Him and Colin Sexton, if you're looking for a playing team, let's assemble, let's get the old band back together and have some great play-in games and lose to Trae Young.
Was it just who they traded him for? Was it that they just traded him for James Harden?
A better player?
That we thought they were going to... Guys, they weren't trading him for Giannis. They weren't trading him for Jaylen Brown. They weren't trading him for Jason Tatum. They weren't trading him for Karl Anthony Towns. They weren't trading him for anybody that you could really want. You got what you got. You got a 37-year-old player that does have a history with leaving teams in a leaving fan bases in an ugly, ugly fashion. That's as best as you could get. I can't believe this. It's unbelievable to me. It really is. I sat there for years arguing with people saying that this team was a better team with Darius Garland on it, but they're not better with Darius Garland on it instead of James Harden. Did we or did we not just last year have knockdown, drag-out arguments with people after the Miami series? Because Darius Garland was out, and I don't even remember who the hell was subbing in for him because I'm so pissed. Who was in for Darius Garland last year?
Oh,
Ty Jerome.
Yeah, Jerome.
Ty Jerome. Yeah, we wanted to get rid of Darius Garland for Ty Jerome. And then he got ISO'd the next series, and then what happened? Oh, yeah, he disappeared. That's what he did because he ain't better than Darius Garland. And in 1 year, now Darius is the missing link to everything, and it's why people just hate the Cavs and are down on the Cavs. I mean, come on. That's absolutely ridiculous.
When they couldn't get out of the second round, when Donovan together with Darius couldn't get out of the second round, they got James Harden, a better player than Darius Garland. His biggest sin, honestly, James Harden's biggest sin, he was only here for 26 or so regular season games. So
was it 23? Was it 26?
Was it? His biggest sin, honestly, was he was too good. And I know people are going to laugh or spit out their coffee. He was too good, and they relied on him too much because of it. Because they couldn't rely on some of the other pieces and parts they had on the team. And so it ended up like the guy they traded for, I was hoping would be a great third or fourth option. He ended up having to be their second, and in many of their playoff games, James Harden was their best option.
I feel like you. I honestly feel like you. Like I've heard you say all these things. I just agree with you. So like it just went through my ears. I know you made great points. I just feel like you because I remember a couple of years ago, you kind of threw up your arms. This is even before they were like good. And you're like, what's going to take it, you guys to jump in back with the Cavs or something like that? And I'm watching a team that won 60 games a year before, 64 games a year before. They massaged the standings as best they could, hint, to get themselves a 4 seed. I don't understand it. I don't. You guys are meaner to them than you are to the Browns. It's unreal. Maybe it depends on the day. It's like, what are we? Yeah, Cavs Conversations brought to you by Surfside Hard Iced Tea. We ask you to please enjoy your Surfside Hard Iced Tea responsibly. This is unreal. I don't get it, and all I can do is hem and haw and stammer and fart and get angry because I don't understand the disconnect, and that's where I'll leave it.
But it's like
we got to move forward.
I've said this, and it's pretty clear. And look, none of you had fun, so you guys were right. You guys had told me this wasn't a fun team. It wasn't a fun team to root for. None of you guys had fun. With the run to the Easter Conference Finals.
Were they watching?
I guess you didn't have fun winning Game 7s and
honestly,
saying goodbye to Detroit and saying goodbye to Toronto.
Can I ask one more? Okay, then I'm going to get to the Jaylen Brown question I asked you, right? Because I got to ask whether or not last night was a vote loss because I got to get some stuff off my chest. I kind of want to understand what Stephen Vought's going through here. Is it because, and I know that you might want to recuse yourself here in some way. Is it because of the television package? Is that it? Is it because you have to go searching for them, and it's the NBA problem, not just the Cavs problem? Is it because you have to go searching for them on the regular season nights that you just go, to hell with it? And then you hear things, and you don't know about James Harden, and why would you? He was playing in Los Angeles beforehand, and the last thing you'd ever heard. Like, I'm trying to meet you in the middle about this, guys. Like, did you hear something about James Harden so bad, so often that they traded for him? You're like, forget it. I don't need to see any of that. And the Cavs, before they made the trade, they were a 500 team, just over 500 team that season. What is it? Is it because Kenny Atkinson is the butt of every joke in sports because he said the analytical thing? Maybe that has something to do with it.
But they didn't like the team before that.
What is it?
They didn't like that team before it. I kept saying all year there's 25, 26 other teams that would die to be the Cavs. And nobody here was buying it. I guess there was this weird feeling that, well, if they're not if they're not the odds-on favorite to win the champions, then this is all a waste. Like, there's only one team that hoists the Larry O'Brien trophy every year.
I remember when they were real bad, and they were losing like 26 in a row, and I was doing the sports updates at the time for a different station. And they were losing 26 games in a row. And then, we still had Samardo Samuels left off that team. And I remember, Jeff coming in here and defending Samardo Samuels with me, going, you don't understand. He's a really good guy and a hell of an athlete. I'm like, Jeff, I'm sorry. The team's terrible. I don't like that. That's the Cavs. You want real bad Cavs basketball.
Apparently they want C.J. Miles and Alonzo G back.
Apparently, man.
That's what they want back.
Do we just want to sit here and have...
As long as they had two little guards running around, shucking up shots in games that meant nothing, because that's what you got when you had Colin Sexton and Darius. You had no repercussions, no high-stakes games. You were irrelevant, so nobody complained about the Cavs ever. And you probably got good seats, and you probably got to walk down past the ushers and sit in the first few rows. And maybe you preferred that to, I don't know, being one of the final four teams left. And then, you get criticized. When you lose, ask San Antonio.
Yeah.
Ask their players. Ask Wemby.
Maybe I just got to deal with it.
Wemby was phenomenal this entire season, but except for the last 12 minutes of every game in the finals, and all he's doing is getting mocked and ridiculed.
You're right.
Jalen Brunson made all these great San Antonio defensive players look just as bad as he made James Harden look. So they all get criticized, and maybe that's what you guys can't stand, is that they are the butt of jokes.
I'm tired of them. Ken, I'm tired of the mediocrity. Mediocre.
Yeah.
Mediocre.
This is not mediocre. Finishing in the Final Four is not mediocre.
Guys, we used to sit there and have arguments. I used to block each other on J.J. Hickson and Christian Ienga. And we're sitting over here getting ready to have a conversation about Jaylen Brown and actually trading for the guy, which Jaylen Brown's upset about this because he's supposed to be the alpha. He's upset. Here's Jaylen Brown. This is his personal Twitch.
Correct.
All right, this is his Twitch channel. Here's the Boston Celtics, Jaylen Brown. Then I have a very pointed question for Tone. Hit it.
Somewhat grateful because I get to see some negativity that I didn't want, but that just gives more fuel to the fire. I get to see some comments or takes that I didn't even care to see, but it just gives me more fuel to the fire. So all the people that's doubting me, that want me to do this or want me gone or whatever, you turning me into a monster.
See, I like Jaylen Brown, and then I heard what he said about the royal family, and I really like Jaylen Brown. So I'm a big Jaylen Brown fan. Who would you trade for him? If you can make a move, and because it's not as easy as what people think. I mean, he's a great player. I mean, there are some negative aspects to it, obviously, because if he was a perfect player, he wouldn't ever be on the block. All right, so we got to take that into account. Do we have the same type of fear maybe that Jimmy would have about Milwaukee? Would he sign here long term?
Well, he is under contract till 28-29.
Okay, so that's a while.
Yeah, and he is $57 million, 61, 64.
That's a lot of money. How old is he again?
Is he 30?
No, he can't be 30. All right, who would you trade for him while you're Googling there?
Jaylen Brown will turn 30 like as the season starts next year.
Judas Priest. Where does the time go?
He was a part of that team that the Cavs beat in the Eastern Conference Finals in 2018.
God,
Yeah.
I swear to God, I was thinking like 27, 28. I was not thinking 30. Thank you. All right. So let me ask you, Tone. Who would you trade for?
Well, Mobley's going to be the one that I think they would want.
I knew you were going to say
And obviously, like, Jaylen Brown is better than Evan Mobley right now. I don't think anybody disputes that. You're not going to find one list that's available that says that he isn't. Most lists kind of have Evan Mobley in the 15 to 25 range, and most lists have Jaylen Brown after this year, his best year so far in the NBA, a former Finals MVP, and somebody who is a two-way wing, which is what normally wins in the playoffs. It's the two-way wings that help you win in the playoffs. He's normally considered top 12, and this year, maybe the 8th best player in the game, maybe 7th. I mean, he was awesome.
Him and Donovan are close, right?
Yeah,
so they could play together?
I would presume so, yeah.
Well, I'm willing to use his anger. If we're only going to be able to hold him for a couple of years, I'm willing to use his anger as a reason to go over and get him. I'm telling you that right now. I still don't know if I'm on board with trading Evan for him, considering what I saw out of the postseason. I want to know if you think that's dumb in 5 minutes. 216-474-0092. Also coming up at 7 o'clock. I heard Zach Jackson say it about Shedeur yesterday, and I really don't believe him. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima, live on the Fan. Friends, Ken Carman here for Peter & Company Jewelers.
It's time. For 119 years, Faygo has created the flavors that make it the one true pop for Cleveland's taste buds. Don't forget it's Faygo time at your local Mark's location. Visit them for weekly specials.
When you want the latest on the Guardians, we're the station you turn to first. 92.3 The Fan is Cleveland's home for breaking sports news. Your teams, your station.
Zach Jackson saying about Shedeur yesterday, and I don't believe it. That coming up at 7:01. So I don't know if I trade Evan for him. If Jaylen Brown's mad, it's like, okay, that's great. But one, I really like Evan. He's 24. I don't want to get caught into hoping. I don't want to get caught into waiting for Godot and just hoping something happens that isn't going to happen either. And we're kind of getting down to the nitty-gritty. I mean, well, he's been, the Karl Anthony Towns thing messes me up, and you brought that up even yesterday on the show. Or was that last week you brought that up?
Both, yeah.
Okay, Karl Anthony Towns got traded for, and honestly, I just kind of went, okay, whatever. And then all of a sudden, he becomes the linchpin to them winning their first championship
at
in 50
age
years.
30.
Yeah. And so, but I don't have time to wait on Evan to turn 30. The guy that I have, we basically probably got one more year left. And then things are going to get real interesting. Like, I don't have a guy like Jalen Brunson who's seemingly here forever. So now I got to get figured out what we're going to do. And I don't know if we have Evan. And there are people that they don't think that it would be a good mix. Lavelle, who's been a faithful listener for a long time, he didn't get me upset like Chaser did, said, I don't think Harden Mitchell Brown would mesh well at all offensively, is what he says. I'm like, and my first thought was, well, good thing we got 82 games to get it figured out there before we get going to the postseason, because on talent alone, you should be 4 or 5 seed in the Eastern Conference. And then if you play with any cohesion at all, I know I'm making it out to be a lot easier than what it is, but I'm going to add 3 seed if you play with any cohesion at all. And then we'll see how things go in the postseason. I don't think it can be very much worse than how people feel that it's been going so far.
Here's a central question. For years, we had to figure out the two small guard thing.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of shifted. While there's still issues fundamentally defensively they're always going to have with James Harden, especially at his age, and Donovan Mitchell. Even though I tried to explain, I thought Harden played admirably defensively up until the Jalen Brunson moments, but he did that to everybody on San Antonio. But now you have a too big issue, and some would argue you've had it for forever. And what that too big issue is, how do you play Jared Allen and Evan Mobley together on really both sides? They're two non-7-footers that are your bigs that neither of them can really go get buckets on their own. And that's antithetical to how teams play in today's NBA, where you've got big men who can shoot and big men who can also drive and play make. And while Mobley is getting a little better at that stuff every year, you needed Evan to get a lot better.
So you're willing to make this? You
year.
Are willing to make this move?
I told you on the way in. I talked to Ken on the phone, and I hesitated. And I'm like, I don't think I would make that trade, but
told me something else on the way in, and I'd love to talk about that, but I think that could cause problems at home, so I ain't going to do that.
No, we can't talk about
God, that would be amazing.
We can't talk about it. But,
Someday.
Maybe in 2 days, depending on what Detroit is going to do, I should say maybe in 2 weeks, depending on Detroit, and you start to go up and down and see what other teams are able to pull off, Toronto, and maybe I get more desperate. Maybe I do. Maybe I get more
I don't know
desperate.
if I can wait around. It seems Jaylen Brown's pretty upset.
Yeah. Well,
and if he's going to be upset, and we got to think about how this plays out as well, because you got to play your cards close to the vest here. And like Darius Garland, there was little conversations. I thought the Cavs were not that out and about it with trades with him. I think Jaylen Brown's upset, and the reason I bring it up is because, well, it seems that now a move with Giannis going to the Miami Heat. Now that Jaylen was a part of that, now do we have to worry as much about the Celtics?
Well, this happened.
Are they going to have to move from Jaylen Brown?
This happened with Kyrie, who again, another one. Him and Jaylen Brown over the years, but this happened. Obviously, there were a lot of rumors that centered around trading Kyrie and he never recovered with the Cavs. Honestly, he never recovered. And the Jaylen Brown thing, I mean, we've wondered for years, and people wondered for years, even after they won the title, if it made sense for those two to be, on the same floor. And I think it's pretty obvious that things are going to get worse before they get better.
I don't know. I don't think they're going to get better. I think they're going to get worse. And so if I can make a move, all right, fine. But if I can't, I got to get the Celtics to agree to a move here, and I don't want to run into the same problem we're just running into here. Now, I don't think Evan would respond like that. I think he's a little too meek in that case, a little too quiet. But I don't know how anybody else would feel about that. If we were to talk about the number one person on the team, the guy who gets the drink going is Donovan Mitchell. Okay, if we're talking about Donovan Mitchell, who he's friends with,
now again,
I think you're asking for more problems here.
Again, no matter what you do, let's say you go and get Jaylen Brown. All right, you've instantly improved your wing defense. You've given your team a jolt offensively. Another guy that can hit tough shots. In the playoffs with guys draped all over him when you need to create baskets, he can do all that. But now you cost yourself interior defensively, and what are you going to do? You are to the point where there's no move that the Cavs are going to be able to make that help them across the board outside of maybe Giannis. But again, you would have given up Evan Mobley in a Giannis move, and then you were subject to being even thinner. And what your front court defense. There's only so much Giannis can do as he's getting older.
It doesn't seem as plausible as I want it to be. I mean, I really like Jaylen Brown. It just doesn't seem to be as realistic as I want it to be because I don't know what else I'd have to offer. I mean, what would they move off of Jaylen Brown for? I don't think they'd move off for anybody really but Evan. And if they had Evan, I mean, you already have Jason Tatum, so really you'd want picks. We don't have picks. So what are they going to move?
We don't have control of our own.
Exactly.
They're subject to pick swaps.
So what are we going to be able to move for Jaylen Brown here?
No, I mean, they don't. I don't think the Celtics. I think they'd want bona fide players. So they'd get younger with Evan Mobley. So I could understand them starting to truly think about it. And you know how they are. They're just like the Cavs for years thought, get a guy in our system, we'll develop him. They take a lot of credit for Lowry Markkanen getting better, but then they shipped him out, so it didn't really matter.
I was thinking more like the Celtics when I said yes.
So the Celtics,
I'm thinking more of the Celtics.
I could see the Celtics saying, get Evan Mobley in our program.
Here, and we'll get him, because they do kind of have more of a proven system. Let me get to Anthony in Cleveland real quick. Anthony, you're first up in the fan. Hello.
Hey, guys. So, I think about this stuff just basketball-wise. I don't really think about the money side of it. So this trade I propose is strictly based on how I think it would help the team, not, money or whatever, because that can all be, worked out. Like you said, salary caps are myths, right? So,
I say that in the NFL. I'm not sure about the NBA yet, Anthony, but go ahead.
Yeah. Billions and millions, I'm trying to tell you, it's all myths. I trade Donovan Mitchell and James Harden for Jaylen Brown. And
but would they do that?
No, they would not do that.
I don't think they would be willing to do that. I mean, you just got a lot older real quick.
Well, I mean, you could do whatever you want with the players after you traded them, I suppose. But you ask who – this is who I see as part of the problem, Mitchell and Harden. Mobley, I'm an old school guy, and they're not playing through their bigs. I know Mitchell is the best player on the team, or supposed to be, but it was frustrating to watch those. It was frustrating to watch Mitchell and Harden.
Anthony, I understand. I understand where you're at. I know you're frustrated. I can hear it in your voice, and thank you very much for the call. I understand the frustration. I do think they traded Darius Garland. I think they maximized value. If I find out different, I'm more than willing to admit that I'm wrong. I think they maximized the value that they could have got back for Darius Garland. As much as that bothers a lot of people to hear that, I think that he was the best offer you were ever going to have for him. And I think you are kind of stuck in a weird spot right now because I don't know what you have to give for a team to bring in a dynamic wing. And you might be stuck. And maybe that feeling of being stuck in, hey, we're really good, but we're not good enough to win a championship is maybe why people have been turning on this team here and why I've been frustrated over the last hour. All right, I said I was going to do it at 6:43. I want to do it at 7:22 because we went taking off on the Cavs here. I think I wanted to originally say this was a vote loss last night, and I think he might be. No, I think he might have given us a spotlight on how desperate he is. I don't think he did it on purpose, but I think he might have given us a spotlight on how desperate he is. That coming up at 7:22. But Zach Jackson said this yesterday. I don't believe it. Not Zach, but what he's talking about. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima. It has to do with your Browns quarterback position. Coming up in 5 on The Fan.
XT.
and 92.3 The Fan on the Odyssey app. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
Your day isn't complete unless you know how Cleveland fits into the national sports scene. It's the Afternoon Drive. Weekdays starting at 2. 92.3 The Fan.
Weird Ass Gardo's game last night. I'm going to get to that at 7:22 because at first I wanted to put it on Stephen Vogt. I went, well, then, hold on. So I might have to go around the room and ask if this is a vote loss. But I want to wait because I want to be more understanding. It's one game. I don't want to go nuts, but I think it showed a little bit of desperation. We're going to get back to the Cavs coming up here in a little bit. Also, Lance Reisland. Coach Lance Reisland going to join the show 9 a.m. Of course, you hear him right here on 92.3 The Fan, often also from Cleveland.com. About last night, coming up at 7:45, where Kyrie says everything's fine between he and the 2016 Cavaliers. So we'll hear about that coming up and about last night, coming up at 7:45. So Zach said this on his pod yesterday. Now, when Zach joined us, we didn't ask him about it because we didn't hear anything. I know that you had said there have been some fans who had said if he don't get the start, he should demand a trade.
Yeah.
And
they're not happy. They're not happy. They think Cleveland has wronged him in every which direction.
All right, but are you talking about real people, or are we doing? Are we going around and around on bots on the internet again? What are we doing? I want to make. I'm serious. I want to make sure.
I don't think these are. Well, it depends.
Because I told you about the bot road I went down a couple of weeks ago. I went, these are bots. This is a bot. This is ridiculous.
What, a lot of the same messages.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I went, oh, okay. These are bots.
But some of them have used a lot of our clips on their podcasts and their.
That's fine.
Which
I don't know if it's fine with the Odyssey legal team, but I don't care. I'm not getting my lawyers involved. That's Odyssey's decision.
As I always say, anything we can do to help put food on the table for the fans.
Oh, you're nasty.
And the haters alike. Anything
I don't know about the fans, but if you want to go after some of the podcasters, you go. That's your call. I'm not going to do it, but you go right on ahead.
There's also some people in Colorado that they say they work for the radio and TV, and then I looked them up, and I can't really find evidence of that. There seems to be something that is there's more of that in Colorado than I've ever seen. I just can't explain it. I do a quick search. It says, I'm on the radio team for their basketball. And then I look and I can't find evidence of it. So I don't know. I don't know who these people are.
Anything specific you want to get to?
Kind of like the guy in Kansas City who says, yeah, I've been doing radio for Kansas City. And then I texted Danny Parkins, who did radio in Kansas City.
Our grievances out,
and Kansas City's like, I've never heard of this Darren guy, this Darren Smith. And I'm like, it says he does radio in Kansas City. I don't know if he buys time and does it that way. You could do that. You could broker shows. People have done that in Cleveland.
I have things to do today, so I don't intend on looking at my phone later on and getting blown up for the rest of the day.
So be a big legal day for you.
I would love to go on your radio show. You just have to prove that you have an actual radio show for me to go on.
I don't necessarily know what you're talking about, so I'm just going to ask you to put the safety on.
I'll show you during the break, Ken.
Okay. Do I really want to see, or do I just not want to see? Because I'm not here the whole show, so maybe I'd just rather stay ignorant on this one. Anyway, Lord, Zach Jackson on his pod. What's the Zach Jackson pod? Zach Jackson and Friends?
Zach Jackson and Friends.
Okay, I subscribe, but I don't know the name
Jackson
of the thing.
And Friends.
I just call it the Zach Jackson Show. So on Zach's podcast, Zach Jackson from The Athletic. Yeah, this is what he opened up with last night?
Oh, yeah.
All right, here we go.
I find it comical that anybody would think there is any trade market for Shedeur Sanders. It was just 15 months ago that nobody took him for 5.5 rounds. He came and he played. And did he play poorly? Yeah. Did he have a lot of help? No. Did teams just not want to take on this army of fans? Many, but not all of them, extremely delusional about where Shedeur Sanders is in his career. We don't know what he's capable of. We don't know where it will go. He does have a chance. I've been very open about that. I can assure you that there's no trade calls being taken or made for Shedeur Sanders for multiple reasons. In silly season, silly talk. I mean, that's silly talk Hall of Fame.
So when I say I don't believe it, I believe what he's saying. I don't believe there's been calls to the team. I don't believe he's asked for a trade. I don't believe that there's been calls for a trade. I've been told none of that.
Do you think he would ask? Do you think he would ask for a trade if he didn't win the starting job?
No, I don't. I think that maybe the fans would. I think there'll probably be some people that are on the internet that might go, I don't know if they're real, but I'd have to say that there'll probably be people on the internet saying that he should demand a trade. And I say no. Good God, it's Deshaun Watson playing. He'll end up being the starter. And
that's how I felt.
Okay, because we've kind of discussed this. Like,
you're going to get an opportunity here.
I get accused of polishing a turd and saying, well, you'll just say whatever the Browns. No. There is a world here where it can be explained to me where, yeah, I want him to start. Why do I want him to start? Because I want someone young and more fun to talk about to start. We've been over that many, many times over. But I could certainly understand if Todd Monken looks and goes, guys, and I've laid this out several times. I'll lay it out again. If Todd looks at us and goes, guys, he had a different offense last year. He started behind the 8 ball last year. We've all been down that road in that story. He has a different offense this year. There's a lot to learn in a very short amount of time. I had to go with the veteran. I got to do what's right by my team. We have to go out, get off to the best foot possible. And if he handles it the right way, maybe he'll get his chance to start. Now, you and I know from a 30,000-foot view, he'd probably start sooner than later because it's Deshaun, and none of us have a lot of faith in Deshaun, and neither does any of the gathered media that came over to the OTAs and the mini camp and saw any of that. I mean, God, apparently he looked worse and worse as time went on. So I think that Deshaun, yeah, if you want to start him, but I don't think there should be any trades of Shedeur Sanders afterwards. He's the only one to kind of look forward to. I mean, Dylan Gabriel, you're not looking forward to him, no offense. Taylon Green, he's a non-conversation. I'd love to see him maybe argue about him being on the 53-man and how to use him and things like that. But I don't think there should be any conversation about trading Shedeur, nor do I think Shedeur. I think it would be a mistake to demand a trade.
Well, and I don't even
if he didn't get the starting job.
What would the market be?
I don't know what the market would be either.
Like he was a 5th round pick. He was a 5th round pick, right? We all agree he was a 5th round pick.
You said it.
Do we have to look that up?
It's not my turn to get cussed out.
Can you look that up?
So
I think legally he was a 5th round pick.
Why? Look, he wasn't a 1st round pick. I'm looking right now, not a 2nd round pick.
All right.
John, was he a 3rd round pick?
No, he's a 5th. He was in the 5th round.
Maybe Jeff Thomas can tell me.
He was in the 5th.
He was a 5th round pick.
So if he was in the 5th,
I know I'm not allowed to say that. They jump on you.
Yeah, but if he goes out there and he throws for 5,500 yards and a bunch of touchdowns and wins the MVP someday, it's part of his story arc.
So absolutely,
they make whole documentaries about Tom Brady about him being a 6th round pick, guys.
And what do they say about Brock Purdy?
Mr. Irrelevant.
So,
and if he wins a Super Bowl, Mr. Irrelevant, just like you had Invincible, that's the name of the movie.
Yeah. So the reason I say it is he was a 5th round pick. He played in 7 games last year on a terrible team that did not do him any favors, did the opposite, right? I agree with the Shedeur fans on that. He was not put in any kind of great position last year, but given those 7 games, I mean, you see where he is on all the charts. Made some nice throws in the Tennessee game when they were down 2 scores. Absolutely. Made some incredible escape plays. He was more mobile than I thought he was. But did he play his way up the value chart?
To that term, I don't think so. I mean, I don't know why I would get rid of him for a 7th round pick or a 6th round pick or even a 5th round pick. Now, if somebody were to call up and offer a 2nd rounder, I mean, what am I supposed to do? But if you're talking about what the value is, I'd rather just hold on to him. I'd be very disappointed if we found out he wanted to trade out of here. I think the priorities would be a little bit mixed up. Because the thing I do disagree with, and I disagree with Zach, and I disagree, Jason makes a big deal about it. I don't think teams are as enamored with his fans as what the media is. I think the media looks at their mentions and they get all worked up and they get bothered by it. I don't think teams feel that way. Now, that said, you're not trading for Shedeur Sanders. I would imagine you're not for him to start for your football team right off the rip. Okay?
I know the Jets stuff over the weekend with Geno Smith.
The Jets stuff is interesting, all right? But I don't think you're really
NFL will
trading
have to investigate
right off the start. Well, did you see what was in the slop sink, by the way? Am I the only one who noticed what the hell was in the slop sink and what that looked like? I can't confirm, but it looked like a firearm to me. Anyway.
Oh, boy.
So it's just not the place to keep a firearm, if you ask me.
That's not where I keep mine.
That's me, okay? So anyway, all right, maybe the Jets, but what are the Jets going to give you? And is it worth it to get rid of a quarterback that did show some flashes last year? That's why I'm like, hey, man, you've been here for a couple of years. Now, you're going into year 2. You've been here for a while. I don't think he's the type of guy that would demand a trade. And I think there's fans there would be calling us up and yelling, get him the hell out of here. Your city sucks. You guys suck. Your team sucks. Get my favorite quarterback. Yeah, there'd be some of that. But I think in real life, no. And I don't think that teams care as much about fan bases as what media does. But at the same time, if you're trading for him to come in and be a backup for your team, probably, it's the same adage with him as it is with everybody else. I mean, this is where your Tebow conversation gets mixed in, where I don't need a whole big firestorm of people talking about who trades for him. But again, who's going to trade for him? The Jets may very well be the only other option, but everybody else, like, if the Chiefs were to trade for him, well, no one's going to unseat Patrick Mahomes, so that's you go into anonymity. If that's the case, so it's like, hey, just bide your time, learn the system more,
now let me ask
continue to go down the right path, and you're going to get your crack at it.
This is two-pronged. This is two-pronged.
Okay.
The first prong, what if they get Brendan Sorsby?
Poseidon over here. If they get Brendan Sorsby over here, then I'm not doing the show anymore.
Does that change anything?
Yeah, obviously it would.
Even if 4-game suspension.
I got to know. Well, I got to know what the suspension is. I got to know everything else.
All right, second part of this.
All right.
Second prong. Would you like prong B?
All right.
Or prong 2?
Okay.
What if they don't get Brendan Sorsby, but you find out somehow that they bid on Brendan Sorsby? Does that change any of the math? Does it change it for the Shedeur people? And I don't know. My guess is we won't find that out, but
all right,
stuff does come out sometimes.
I'm an emotional person, and I think you're being too emotional. And let me explain in 5 minutes on the Fan, as well as it was a wild night last night. I want to go around the room and wonder to you guys whether or not we should put this loss on Steven vote. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima, live on the Fan.
It's Anthony Lima.
title in 2021. Can now find 92.3 The Fan on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to the best content from our shows each and every weekday. That's 92.3 The Fan on YouTube. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
All right, I'll get back to the Shedeur thing in a second. I've been waiting to get this off my chest here for like an hour and a half. I know Owen is too. I want to ask Owen. I want to ask you. I want to ask John. John, I want you to turn on your mic. John's a baseball guy. I'm disappointed in last night's performance. I'm disappointed in the loss. Obviously, I'm not mad. They've lost. It was a wild game.
Kenny, that had game of the year potential.
I know.
I'm not calling it game of the year when you lose it.
So this is the issue here. Is that they run Cade Smith out there. Vogt runs Cade Smith out there, and I'm going, oh, God, this seems like he's been doing this a lot. John
it's never good when you start out and say they ran him out there.
Well, no, because
that's always a negative connotation.
Hear me out. Like, you run Cade Smith back out there early. Okay. And my first thought that came to my head when watching this game was, all right, you brought him out here again. Like, this is what, 4 times this month that you've done this, and I had to look it up last night because I'm like, well, and then I started doing like the Larry David, Hemman and Hahn thing, and yeah, things didn't go our way, and I wanted to react negatively, and I went, hold on, he hasn't pitched since Thursday, all right? Cade hasn't pitched since Thursday. That's a while, all right? The game that you won down in Houston, you won by 7 runs, okay, the Travis Bazzana game. By the way, they're going to have to work something out with him coming up this winter, or maybe the All-Star break or something, because this is a really good ball player here, guys. So I'm getting beside the point here. I think he showed us, Vogt, and I want to rip Vogt, but I think he showed us how desperate he is. Because I'm going, if you had that much faith in your relievers, your setup guys, Sobrowski's been banged up, some guys have been injured. I don't know how much faith anybody has in anybody else. I know that Gaddis has dealt with some stuff, and Gaddis has scuffled a little bit. If you had that much faith in guys, wouldn't you just put him out in the 9th and that's it? You brought him out in the 8th. And I know he needs work. And so that's why I'm thinking, I don't know if it's a Vogt loss as much as it is. Like, he's kind of showing us how desperate he is right now with the lineup and everything. Yeah.
Well, this is different. You keep saying that it's 4 out of 5. It's those were to get
4 out of 6. 4 out of 6.
But those were to get a third out in the 8th inning. They were down 1. They started the 8th inning with him. He started the inning as if they're not going to get another at bat because they're the home team and they're up a run, right? We need to get this guy work. So they brought him out, and then they ended up scoring 2 in the top of the 9th, and they left him out there. They had a check swing. White Sox had a check swing.
It was unbelievable.
That went down the third baseline and got a guy on. That's just, sometimes it happens, man.
I know.
Are you going to say it's baseball?
That's
Are
baseball,
you going to say it's baseball, Owen?
Well, do you think it's a Vogt loss?
No.
I'm trying to be understanding here.
I think it's a baseball god's loss.
Well, and hold on, he pressed the right buttons twice in the pinch hit. First of all,
Khalil Watson going into pinch hit and then coming up with a hit.
And
I got to tell you, that's part of the reason I want to sit there and rip on Vogt, because I don't think anybody in the world thought he was getting a hit.
Nobody has looked more outmatched in their first 10 at bats than that dude.
And then you've got
and then he came up and did that.
Yeah. Tie game, 1 out. Manzardo pops one up, but it's shallow center, like shallow. And Philip Bailey, Patrick Bailey runs and gets the score, right?
Yeah.
And steps over a tag. It just, things happen. They shouldn't even been in the game in the 9th. Really,
well, David,
for them to even be in the game.
What did you think of the non-slide saunter that worked?
The non-slide helped us and then screwed us in the end, too, right? They go with the non-slide.
Non-slide giveth and it taketh away.
That's baseball.
So is it?
That is more. Was this put it on the poll?
This is the worst
Young
thing,
John,
though.
was that it's baseball loss?
This is the worst ever, because when you just say that's baseball, you can't just keep saying that's baseball. But I do think when he rolls,
that's baseball. Kid.
When he runs, it's true. When he runs Cade Smith out there early, I just think he's telling you. And he's a guy he's one of the best relievers in baseball now. And he's out of that traditional closer role. He's not. I treat him as like he's 22. He's 27. He's been up here for a while now. And I think that when you do it a couple times, like, yeah, this is extenuating circumstances. You got to come out in the 8th. Let's hold this lead or whatever. You bring him out in a different role. And again, I know he needs work, but it's not like you're down by 6. Okay? Like you're down by 1. You're giving yourself a chance. All right, I understand that. But you're going again to an untraditional thing of what he does. And so I just think it kind of messes with your psyche there, man. I mean, already we were talking about at the beginning of the year, there was the conversation about whether or not he could be the closer. And because of Andre Schmidt was the only reason I got defensive about it, because I remember me sticking my foot in my mouth at the beginning of the season when it came to Schmidt, the kicker. But with him, I'm just thinking, man, how many times are you going to roll him out there in the position that he's not, in the spot where he's not really used to, and expect him to come up big for you? I just felt it was a bit much.
You just want him to set another day?
That's why I also
just answer the question. Did you want him to set another?
No, then
it's not on vote.
Well, but I don't want to put it on vote, and that's one of the questions I ask myself. Well, I can't just.
You can absolve yourself from this right now.
Yeah, but I've made so many excuses for other coaches in town that I can't just sit there and keep making excuses for this one. So I want to know if it's a legitimate excuse.
This coach does 162 times a year.
Exactly.
Some of the other coaches do it 17. It's way different.
You are right.
Different.
You are right. So I just want to make sure that I'm not pulling punches because I don't want to see the truth. Like, I thought he's in a really tough spot. And again, I just thought it highlighted.
It goes back to the amount of times these guys appear and play. And when you take it back to the Andre Schmidt thing, right? And he cost you a game. He did. He cost you a game when you only have 17 shots at it. One game is a big deal. One game, and we'll get into it later in the year, where this game might come back to haunt us, especially because it's the White Sox. Mm-hmm. And it seems like it's going to be the Guardians and the White Sox going down to the final week the way that things are going right now. But they play them 12 more times.
Yes.
There's a lot that's going to happen. The one game in the grand scheme of things in baseball is a 1/10 of a game in football.
Yes.
It's not even a quarter.
Okay, so I'm not putting it on vote. I didn't want to put it on vote.
No, you can feel good. You can walk out of here with your head held high today. It's not on Stephen vote.
Do you agree with Owen and me?
I'm not. Look, I'm not.
So you agree with us? We're not putting it on vote.
Yeah. Well, also, the Hoskins at first, like the double, the leadoff in the 7th inning gets down, and then the broken bat, like he's doubled over and goes off his glove.
Well, the bat looks like it's coming out his face.
Yeah,
right?
I know. I'm not putting that one.
All right, John, is it an official show stance? We're not putting it on vote.
No, because you go back in the bottom of the 9th inning when they had a chance to end the game. There was 2 outs. If Brian Rocchio makes that play up the middle, and again, it would have been a miraculous play. The game is over.
Shot.
It was a shot. He was there. It was hit too hard. But some guys will make that play. No, it's not on Stephen Mote. It's the luck of the draw. It's a game of inches.
Okay. All right. Official show stance. There were a lot of people who were pretty upset last night.
Well, the crowd played into it, too. They were a rowdy bunch. There were a lot of Guardians fans there as well, as they always are, when they play at that venue. Did we have any Schriffen antics?
I saw a lot of pictures.
To speak of?
There are a lot of listeners that were out there for this. I think it's summer. They're taking their vacations.
They sounded,
I saw a lot of Facebook friends that were posting pictures of Comiskey or whatever they're calling it now.
They sounded like the Long Island rowdy U.S. Open crowd, too, because anytime they were chanting USA, USA, when Bazzana was up.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
That wouldn't have been Guardians fans. That would have been White Sox fans then doing that.
They were doing that yesterday. Like, it was a rowdy crowd.
Hey, I think we're fine with Australia, are we not? Be ripping on him.
What, they're playing the first game of the NFL season there.
Yeah. We're fine with that. I don't think Kyle Shanahan is, but everybody else is fine with that. I don't give a damn. All right, I just want to make sure. We are officially... It's not a Stephen vote loss. So we put a pin in that, and that's fine. Daryl will be in later on. Maybe Daryl will disagree with you on that. Also, about last night coming up at 7:43. So you asked me before break. You said about the trade stuff that Zach had talked about in his podcast. He led his podcast saying there's no calls being made. This is silly. I mean, he called it silly. He called it a waste of time, basically. And I tend to agree because I go, how does this benefit Shedeur Sanders at all? Like, I could see his fans, who are not Browns fans, dropping in and saying, the Browns are a mess. Get him out of here. This was a miss from the very beginning. He's got to go. We got to get rid of him and get him into a different place. I could get that because they've only known the Browns for losing. They haven't paid attention to him. I could understand that, but I don't think Shedeur would demand a trade. And you said under a two-pronged approach. If they got Sorsby, what would they do? I do think that maybe opens some things up. But again, what's the market? And then the other thing is, if we find out they bid, guys, I don't think that Shedeur Sanders has had his head under a rock over the last 6 months. I think Shedeur Sanders knows exactly what's at stake here. And I think that there's been a lot of people, I think we have conflated a lot between how fans feel, which we are a conduit for the fans, and how the team feels. I don't think it's lost on Shedeur Sanders that the job is up for grabs and that he has a chance to grab the job and then possibly become the future. But I don't think it's lost on him that they traded Myles Garrett. Why did they trade Myles Garrett? Well, for a reason. Why are they even around the Sorsby stuff? For a reason. Because they don't have full faith and confidence in you or any of the other guys that are currently on the roster that play their position.
If they had a guy, I don't know how
He's
this is
the closest
controversial.
I have to having any faith in it, but I can't give a full-throated endorsement.
Yeah,
not after last year.
I think it's the least controversial thing ever to say if they thought there was a legitimate chance that the quarterback of the future was on this team right now, they would not have traded Myles Garrett.
Exactly. And I've been trying to say that for weeks and weeks and weeks. If they were to trade him, I thought, my God, it's a gut punch for the team. Now, I didn't know if they were going to get Jared Verse back, for crying out loud, when we talked about this months ago. But even going back to it, I would expect fans to get mad. And I would not be very thrilled as of right now with what I know and what I don't know about Brendan Sorsby and arguing with you every day and you making every excuse under the sun, in my eyes, for a guy that has a nefarious past.
For a guy that goes to church every Sunday.
Yeah, and as I told you, so did Jimmy Swaggart. So did Jim Jones, for that matter. So I don't want to hear any of it. What I come down to is this. There should be, and I hope there would be, a difference. Say they did go out and get Sorsby, or we found out they put a bid in for Sorsby and they didn't get Sorsby. I'd be sorely disappointed if it were confirmed that he were asking for a trade. I just don't think he's like that. I think there'd be plenty of people here who would be calling in saying to trade him. I think there would be hosts saying to trade him. I think there would be so many other things. But I got to get down to if we're talking about requesting trades, like David Njoku publicly requested a trade. Kareem Hunt publicly requested a trade. It's not very public right now, and I don't think he's requesting a trade, but can we kind of wonder if Grant Delpit's having a hold-in right now where he wasn't participating in drills and the contract is kind of on the conversation piece
he was
here?
there, but wasn't there.
I'm just wondering myself, and I don't blame him for trying to get his money for that matter. I think we have to differentiate the fans and Shedeur because I think so many times a lot of people have mixed them up too much. There's been a lot of things and a lot of opinions that fans have had about Shedeur Sanders that somehow miraculously we just put in Shedeur's mouth.
Yeah, I've said from day one that Shedeur has not been the problem people said he would be.
He hasn't.
It's as likable a dude as I have seen.
That is true. And you're not trolling there. You have been serious about that.
It's the reaction. It's the stuff that his fans like we all agree. Shedeur was not put in a good spot. Like I don't know how many times we've had to say that. It's everything that's said after that. It's everything above that. Like we don't have to look at every throw and say it was somebody else's fault. Like there are things Shedeur has to do to get better. And this is a new rebuild offensive line. You're going to have Judkins healthy to start out the season.
That's true.
I have said that I think he could actually benefit from not being the starting quarterback to start out the season. And I truly believe that. Like, let Deshaun, especially if you don't believe in Deshaun.
Something there, yeah.
Let Deshaun, let the offensive line gel with Deshaun because it's tough for an offensive line that is completely rebuilt to just fire on all cylinders right off the rip with a new head coach.
I'd be upset that if Deshaun were named the starter. If he were named the starter, I'd be upset because I think we have to watch a quarterback that just reminds us of a bad era of Browns football, and I don't think we have a future with. And I think that we would have these conversations, and I think I'd have to be a pretty mean-spirited person because I'm like, no, even if they made the playoffs with Deshaun Watson, I might be willing to go as far as the franchise tag, and that's it. I just don't trust. I don't trust him, all right? I'd be dispirited, disappointed, all the words you could think of. But I'd also go, hey, this is an opportunity for Shedeur. Get your breath, relax a little bit, Learn everything, pick up everything. You guys are on friendly terms with each other. This is not Kyler Murray and J.J. McCarthy over there. These guys got along last year. You can work together on this. You can learn things. I don't think it needs to be adversarial. You don't need to be that way.
They said we're the ones doing that. We asking the
question. There was one
questions.
person asking the question, and I'm like, yeah, I could see his point on this when Shedeur said that. I don't think they have to be adversarial, and I don't think they have to be adversarial in season. You can use it as an opportunity. I'm just looking at it from my own personal point of view. I'd much rather talk about Shedeur Sanders than Deshaun Watson as a starting quarterback of the Cleveland Browns, even if it's just for 2026, and then we're moving on to somebody else in 2027. I'd rather have him have that opportunity. But yeah, if there's any conversation about trades or anything like that, I expect fans to have that conversation. I expect radio hosts to have that conversation and podcasters and all that other stuff. I would just be very surprised if he were the one who demanded a trade. I'd be shocked. 216-474-0092. Kyrie says everything between he and the 2016 Cavs is fine and dandy. Hear from him coming up in About Last Night and 5 on The Fan. Friends, Ken Carman.
Nothing to do with me. I mean, they moved the meeting. I didn't miss it. I was just trying to get a sweet haircut.
How it is when you win in Cleveland, man. They love you. When you lose, whew, it's the way it should be.
He's a piece of crap. The kid, he sucks. He's sucked his whole career.
I got rumors about him. How he couldn't please his wife, so now he's divorced.
That sounds really good, but I'm not 6'5", and I don't have the athletic ability to play in the NBA.
Now, the Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima give their thoughts on what you might have missed about last night.
The 2016 Cleveland Cavaliers have been going around Europe partying. They've been rejoicing, and they've been doing all this stuff kind of without Kyrie Irving. People are suggesting, oh, maybe Kyrie hates the Cavs. He hates his old teammates. Well, Kyrie took to social media, and this is what he had to say.
Me and my teammates who won the championship together in 2016, we are straight, y'all. It's all love. And when I get back to the States, I'm going to pop in with them. We're going to chop it up. We're going to have a great time. Because the immaturity behind using media to spin narratives, psychotic, bro. You got to understand, I've been in this media scum for about 10 years. And it's okay. It's not meant to be understood. That's how people make money, too. Fair criticism is cool. When you start coming at who people are as people and you don't know who they are, when you're in a public position like I'm in, you got to be okay with it. People are going to say whatever they want, do whatever they want. As a leader out here, I'm cool with taking accountability and admitting to my wrongs and mistakes. Saying 2016, I'm not 24, I'm not 23, 34 years old. When you try those same games, narrative, all this stuff, running narratives and stuff like that, and especially when I'm heading over to China, it's so like the pattern recognition, man. Pattern recognition, y'all, in this simulation, on this matrix. Me and my teammates are good, though.
Yeah, what?
He threw that at the end. Hey, by the way, we're good. After he went on a quintessential Kyrie, I mean, that was.
I thought you were going to ask me a question. I didn't realize.
From everything I've heard from him over the last 10 years.
I just think it's funny because we know Kyrie's one of those. Kyrie has said some crazy things over the last couple years. He is an outspoken flat earther.
Go ahead.
Saying he's in the Matrix.
Ahead, John, power rank those crazy things.
Sure you want him to
Number one, flat earther. Number two, saying that we're in a Matrix. And number three, saying that he's actually on good terms with the Cavs 2016 team.
Okay. Well, he might be on good terms with the Cavs 2016 team. They might just think he's a weirdo. Like, we all have a buddy in our group that, like, yeah, he's a little weird, but he's all right. A little misunderstood, but he's all right.
The second best player on the championship team is going to be the fringe guy?
I mean, he clearly...
I think, you can definitely be a mercurial fringe guy.
Yeah, he clearly ghosted them. And then I think his team, or maybe he, saw how it was being portrayed, and he got a hold of them. And I'm sure they are fine now. But Kyrie was never going to hang out with those dudes. Ever.
No.
Not
golf?
today, not in 5 years, not in 10 years.
Man, that sucks, because now it just makes me feel like, all right, what are we going to do for the 15 year? Is he going to be there? Because they're all going to be retired by then, I'd assume. So what are we going to do for the 15-year anniversary?
I don't know. It'll never be enough, according to some people. Apparently, we're supposed to have a parade every day.
Well, I would like to have another parade just to see if we could do it better than what it... Because it was, it was as wild as it could be. Which actually made it a better parade, to be honest with you. Go ahead.
The Dallas Mavericks have hired Dusty May from Michigan to be their next head coach. And I think that he was their third choice for the job. We know that John Shire of Duke turned it down. And you have to imagine that Dan Hurley at least got a call. Now,
Wait a minute. You're just assuming that Dan Hurley got a call? Were there any reports?
I'm going to assume that Dan Hurley at least got a call.
So you don't know if it was their third choice. He could have been their second choice.
I think that Dan Hurley, I think he's going to get a call for every NBA job just because he has 2 national championships.
You sure?
I think so, yeah. Because he turned.
I don't know. I bet there's some owners who probably don't like his behavior.
He turned down the Lakers. I don't think he's going to. It would have to be a ridiculous offer.
I mean, you can talk to quote unquote college kids, but you ain't talking to grown men like that.
Fair enough. But here is what Shams Charania has said of why Dusty May took the job with the Mavs here on ESPN.
Dusty May personally, it was 3 factors. Cooper Flag ultimately was the biggest key in this, the draw, and then it was the city of Dallas, and then after all that, Masai Ujiri and the leadership there with the Mavericks.
I just think it's the rise. His rise is actually ridiculous. He's only been a head coach for 8 seasons, and then I did some research on him, he never even played college basketball. He was a student manager at Indiana, so it's crazy to think that a guy like that...
Wasn't Spoelstra just a student manager too?
Yeah, we've had a bunch of these guys that have worked their way up. I mean, you think the Van Gundys were throwing down dunks?
I don't know. Did you ever see that video, Stan Van Gundy bring
behind
the ball down? Oh man, that was
incredible.
Throwing moves on people. It's like that. But Stan Van could play, man. I don't know about Jeff.
People do seem a little more open to a lot of that. I don't know, the NFL is the one where it's a little tougher, right?
As far as what?
Well,
I think it's actually tougher to be a former player.
I'm saying that to earn respect in the locker room, like we've had those discussions over the years where I'm like, anybody could coach an NFL team. They could just have a defensive coordinator, have an offensive coordinator, and you're like, no, they got to trust you. I mean, you're right.
They do.
They got to look at you and not laugh.
Yeah, at that level.
Behind your back.
Yeah.
I mean, people they'll look at the eye rolls. Kevin Stefanski, he was a 2-time coach of the year. Look at what he got.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's. I know this is beside it. I imagine he got a huge bump in pay, and I actually think in some way this is crazy because you would never have been able to say this 5-10 years ago. I think it's got a little bit more stability. Like Cooper Flagg isn't going anywhere. He doesn't have to re-recruit Cooper Flagg every single year. And your cap is your cap. So then you're going to have guys who want to play. You're hoping that Cooper Flagg is good enough that you have guys who want to play with him. It's a good city. I've never been there. You've been to Dallas? I thought you've been to Dallas.
No.
Okay. Anybody? You've been to Dallas.
I've been to Dallas.
Is Dallas a good city? Yeah. The Metroplex is nice?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, man, I posted
a couple establishments I went to. Free hamburgers before, 3 o'clock.
I found an account of nothing but J.R. Ewing one-liners, and they're
amazing.
Incredible. I posted one yesterday. They are outstanding.
You'll never understand, John. You'll never get it.
You don't get it, dude. Well, I was 5 years old watching that show with my parents.
In the world.
Whole episodes, not just the opening theme. Whole episodes. You have no idea. Patrick Duffy, Larry Hagman, the whole deal.
I wish we could do the audio. You know how they
play? Yeah.
You know how they play 80s music for people, just YouTubers, and they're like, all right, this is pretty good.
Yep.
If we just played
The
Dallas
theme.
and other themes for John,
Magnum PI,
I think it would be good. You know what? We can do it off the radio.
Miami Vice
sucks.
You
but we
can't
can
do WKRP because then you just say it in the thing. But that's a really good song, too. I mean, there's so many good ones. Sorry, John. Go ahead.
Okay.
In the NBA yesterday, outside of the Giannis trade, Trae Young signed a 4-year, $212
Three's
million
company.
deal, and Ayo Dosunmu signed a 5-year, $112 million deal. Would you rather have those guys on those contracts or have Donovan on his long-term max contract, which if he signed this year, 4-year, $272 million, next year, 5-year, $352 million?
So we had this conversation over the phone, did we not, yesterday? Who was the first one you mentioned?
Trae Young.
Okay. I looked at you, or I said to you on the phone, I think Cavs fans do. Now, this is a weird thing to leave everybody with. I think they do go to the games to see Donovan Mitchell. All right? Will Wizards fans go to see Trae Young?
3 or 4 years ago, they might have.
That's what I'm saying. So I do think there is. You have to be a bit of, like, if you're an owner of a basketball team or a professionals franchise, there has to be you have to have a little bit of entertainment to you. You have to be a little bit of a P.T. Barnum, don't you? Where it's like, who's going to see Trae Young?
Now, Trae Young was.
Why would you pay $212 million to a guy who's not going to? I don't think he's going to move the box office.
Now, I early in his career, he came into the league. He was like poor man Steph Curry. He did some of the worst shot selection in the league, kind of LaMelo Ball, like shooting from way out. He did have some big playoff moments. Like this was the thing.
Well, he's still one of the most hated Knicks
because he went in there and he beat him. Like, that was not the Jaylen Brunson
Are they
Knicks.
just paying him for that stuff, though?
I always laugh because we'd get in these debates about Garland and all these other guards, and I'm like, Trae Young has been the best player on a playoff team that went to the Eastern Conference Finals. It was a down year in the Eastern Conference, but he did it. Darius never pulled off any of that.
No.
But we had come to the conclusion you'd rather have Darius day in and day out because this shot selection and the selfishness, even though he could get 10, 15 assists easily. We're just running screen and roll, but was it effective? Was it effective for your basketball
I also
team?
hold something against.
Plays no defense.
I almost hold something against Trae Young because he almost got Vince Carter to get me kicked out of that basketball game.
Oh yeah, I do recall.
And I've held it against Trae Young ever since.
All right, thank you, John.
That's it for About Last Night.
Friends, I bid you adieu.
And when we come back,
the dangerous one.
Can you win the offseason if you still have one of the worst quarterback rooms in the NFL? Somebody thinks the Browns got an A and are the best of 32.
I want to have this conversation. Now I want to jump
Ryder
back in.
Is in for Ken Carman. Plus Coach Riz, we have Lance on at 9 o'clock. What does he make of all the rumors? And Brendan Sorsby. It's all straight ahead. 2 hours left here on Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan. Anthony Lima 4. Mentality Health, ladies and gentlemen. Mentality Health.
championship in 2021. Listen to The Fan Rewind weeknights 11 to midnight. All the best segments from all our shows, and you can always listen on the Odyssey app. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
Catch Afternoon Drive with Nick Wilson and Jonathan Peterlin live on YouTube each and every weekday from 2 to 7 p.m.
All right, Daryl has stepped in. Did you do a tag? An official tag? Did the referee, Danny Davis, see it? Because then it doesn't count. He didn't see it.
I tagged in.
Okay. Daryl came in with a list.
Ken wanted to swing at me with a baton instead, though.
All right, hold on. Stay tuned. Daryl has a list, a lengthy list, and it involves Jimmy Hasslam. We'll leave that there. I want to get to this immediately because we had Giannis news. The Guardians game was wild last night. I know Daryl has a lot of thoughts on all of that.
Yeah, is Gabriel Arias still on this team, and why?
So, your thoughts on the platinum sombrero? The 0 for 5, and then not running one out when the bases were loaded, and some people had to brush up on their baseball rules. Going back to Little League, can you take off for first base if the bases are loaded? Well, he showed no hustle. And then, of course, Travis Bazzana was legging everything out as you know he would.
And then he screamed into his glove after the final out. He was so angry.
Yeah, well, that sucked because it was a wild game and
really
you thought they were going to win. And
they lost by how they played. They lost guards ball last night.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Daryl, what does that mean?
The White Sox beat them at their own game.
You think so? Well, you think the check swing or the broken bat, the down the line?
Nothing defines guards ball like check swings and broken bats.
And we didn't even talk about the starting pitching performance because Gavin Williams came in and people were debating. Was it a good performance? Was it not? There were only 6 base runners, but he only made 5 or 6 base runners, but he only made it, into the 5th. And
for the bar for him, I don't think he met the standard last night.
So that's what they were debating online.
I mean, it was. I guess you could say I don't even know if I go quality, but it was okay. He's not why they lost, but not to the Gavin Williams standard that we have all.
Well, we also had an official debate. We'll get to this Browns topic because somebody thinks you won the offseason. Daryl, hold your guffaws and your chuckles. I have to ask.
Hang the banner.
Not in the mood for that today.
It was asked. We went around the horn here in studio. Was it a vote loss yesterday?
Yeah, I'm going to put that one on voter.
Why do you think with that lineup that with 3 of their top guys all injured?
I have to take that back. That's a front office loss last night.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know. After you just explained the check swing and the broken bat and all that.
Owen called it's a baseball loss.
It's baseball.
It's baseball.
It's a baseball god's loss.
How many of those
did you look at the lineup they fielded last night? Are you surprised they lost?
Daryl, we've been doing that for 25 years. Though,
that is very fair. That is fair.
So if we're still going back to the Chiefs and all that, I get it. I agree with you. And yet, that's where we've been, and they compete in that version.
I was not going to go the old
I'm
cheapo
saying for the royal you.
Oh yeah, no, I was going to go they are suffering the sins of not developing enough players over the course of the last decade. They're starting.
And yet, I think they've developed more players than anyone in baseball.
I realize that they're trying to catch up, but the gap is so wide.
I go and I look at the latest development who's come up now, right? And did they really develop Bazzana? I mean, he's #1 overall pick.
So now they don't even get credit. Now they don't get credit.
Let me finish what I was going to say. I look at him and I go, oh, he's doing great in the All-Star voting right now. You know who's leading that right now for the AL?
Who's that?
It's Ernie Clement.
Oh, okay.
By 800,000 more votes.
Hey, they did have.
He used to play for the Guardians.
Yes, he did.
Yes, he did. Well,
and he's been great in Toronto.
For the discussion about the lineup, guys. They did get miraculous pinch hits by Watson. Watson in Cleveland. Bailey had one of the all-time hilarious non-slides you will ever see, which was completely effective. Hell, Schneemann pinch hit and got a hit. Kwan pinch hit and walked twice. So you still lose the game, which stinks. Anyway.
That was a tough loss to swallow last night.
It was absolutely brutal. And the platinum sombrero. You don't see a lot of those in a baseball season.
I think only 5 in Guardians history.
Whoa, seriously?
Yeah.
All right.
I think it was Zach Meisel who posted the golden sombrero champions in Guardians history.
Okay.
Larry Doby in 1948, Rick Manning in 1977.
Okay, 2 famous guys so far.
Jim Thome.
3 famous.
I've heard of him.
In 2000. Daniel Johnson. Remember, he was a former Clevelander.
Okay, you got me.
2021. And now Gabriel Arias here in 2026. By the way, the Indians/Guardians records in games with the Golden Sombreros, they're now 4-1. Congratulations, Gabriel Arias is the first guy to strike out 5 times, and they lose.
So normally it yields positive results. Anyway, Daryl Ryder in for Ken Carman. Who won the offseason in the NFL? This from NFL on CBS. Owen, your Chiefs, number 6.
Hey, I'll take it.
The Rams made a pretty big trade in the offseason. They are number 4. Fernando Mendoza and the Raiders are in at number 2. And remember, their big trade rescinded with Max Crosby, correct?
That was their biggest move, really, of the offseason.
Yeah. And
and in the end, I think that's why, they won, because they got to keep their player.
For now. And number 1, ladies and gentlemen.
How did you skip over the number 3 team?
Oh, the Jets?
No love for the Jets, Jets?
People think they could be on Shedeur Sanders' watch. Get to that later. Number 1 on this list.
Who is it?
Who won the offseason? It's the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns, folks. Off-season win. Dub. Let's go. Let's go.
Off-season champs again, baby. Hang the banner.
How many are we up to now?
I think this is the 12th since 1999. 12th off-season championship for your Cleveland Browns.
I bet if had some time, you could do a nice power ranking of some of the great Browns off-seasons.
Don't you threaten me with a good time.
I think it would be fully soaked in sarcasm.
Yes.
Fully entrenched.
Yes.
So
I might need weeks to compile that.
So, okay, a couple things here. Yes, we're scoffing. We're throwing over some
How do you trade your best player
levity.
and win the offseason? I'm just curious how that works.
I want to get to this. How'd you feel about the draft?
It was pretty good.
Okay. I think everybody feels
on paper,
it was pretty
looks
good.
like they got 4 first-round picks on paper.
All right.
We'll see if they play like first-round picks this fall.
What did they do in terms of draft capital? They added another first-round pick, right?
And they also traded their best player in franchise
history. Hold on, we're getting to that.
Well, that's how they added to their draft capital.
They also added a already significant pass rusher, Jared Verse.
Yeah. I mean, defensive rookie of the year 2 years ago, paired him with defensive rookie of the year last year.
Pro Bowler, right? Is he a Pro Bowler?
He's a Pro Bowler.
Pro Bowler matters so much today.
Analytics.
Shedeur Sanders was a Pro Bowler
third
last year.
Quarterback pressures the last 2 seasons.
This is true.
Analytics gurus love him.
Oh, yes, they do.
And also, eye test loves
nerds
him. Okay,
love him.
So, Daryl, are you taking issue with CBS Sports saying the Browns, the number 1 out of 32 teams in the NFL this offseason? They won the offseason.
I think this is a very bad omen for this season. If the Browns won the offseason, we know what's about to follow. And I don't wish that on anybody.
Well, a couple things here.
Because every time the Browns win the offseason, bad things happen in the fall. So I honestly don't want the Browns to win the offseason so that, maybe the fall is a little more palpable.
Well, going into 2019, right? Going into 2019, fans thought they won the offseason. Remember, they were going in guns blazing with that Titans opener.
Yeah.
And we all remember how the season went astray right off the rip.
Absolutely. Baker got his coach that he wanted, right?
And then they committed 32 penalties in the opener.
You had Odell and Jarvis. The hype was real. They were thought to be playoff contenders that year.
Now, obviously, I think they did some good things in this offseason, and I thought they had to trade Myles Garrett. I've been saying that for a long time. Not the only one, obviously. I said all the time, if a new GM would have come in, the first thing he would have done is trade Myles Garrett. It's not a popular move.
Right.
So I can't then kill them and make fun of them for getting high attributes, high marks from somebody. But I do also have to ask a larger question.
Yeah, but you can't trade your best player and win the offseason.
Well,
regardless of what you got in
then it'd be
return.
very easy to win the offseason. Just
Right.
trade your best player.
Exactly.
Every team could do that.
The Milwaukee Bucks are the offseason champions of the NBA now.
It's not particularly tough to tear down your team. That's the easy part. It's the building up. Now, a lot of us do think they are taking some proper steps.
The last 2 years have been very good to them when it comes to infusing young talent into the roster.
But can you win an offseason when you don't have a quarterback? And that is the question that will linger for me forever. Like, how can we truly get excited about off seasons unless you would say, hey, this is how they're getting their quarterback?
Well, two of the top three teams,
draft capital.
Two of the top three teams in these rankings don't have quarterbacks. That'd be the Browns and the Jets.
Well, the Raiders drafted a quarterback.
Well, but they believe that that's their quarterback, so I'm going to say they have their quarterback.
Todd told me we have 2 starting caliber quarterbacks.
Yeah, Todd is
not one, but 2.
A little mistaken on that.
All right, 216-474-0092. Can you say the Cleveland Browns have won the NFL offseason? That, and with Daryl Ryder in for Ken Carman, we have a list forthcoming about Jimmy Hasslam, who is not having a great day on the internet. I tried to defend him earlier in the show. We'll see if Daryl Ryder defends Jimmy Hasslam when it comes to being an owner of a sports team. That's straight ahead on Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan. Anthony Lima for Expert Renovations. How about
NBA MVP and won the championship in 2021. Get all the latest Browns content filtered right to your phone during this offseason by following the Browns playlist and 92.3 The Fan on the Odyssey app. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
We got Coach Riz at 9 o'clock, but stay tuned the rest of the hour. Dale Ryder in for Ken Carman a little bit later on. Coming up in about 20 minutes, what really is the upside of a quarterback that could be had over the next few weeks?
I just wanted to mention Daryl's brought to you by Shabin Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store.
Goes without saying, but we shall say it. At 8:22, if you're scoring at home, thank you, Owen. Kenny had to step out. He'll return tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. So there was a pretty big, dare we say, blockbuster trade last night in the NBA that many of you are waking up to this morning involving Giannis. Our long national nightmare has finally come to an end. The Bucks trading Giannis to the Heat. It's a haul of players and picks, 3 unprotected first-rounders. That's 2031, 2033. Number 13, a pick swap in 2030, a 2033 second-rounder. So there is quite the haul. Also a bunch of players. Tyler Hero, probably the one most of you know, but others that people in NBA circles would know. So that's done. I want to get your initial thoughts to that before we get into this list that you compiled when it comes to Jimmy Hasslam, the owner of course, the Browns, but also one of the owners of the Milwaukee Bucks. What did you make of that deal when you woke up?
Thank God it's over, number one. Number two, I think that based on the reporting of what the offers were on the table, Miami's offer was better. You get an all-star plus you get 3 first-round picks, albeit 2 of those first-round picks are what I call into the distant future. But they weren't going to do a Cavs Evan Mobley swap because Giannis apparently didn't want to play long-term here in Cleveland. At least that's what they're saying. But I think that considering the situation they're in, it's similar to the Myles Garrett whole deal. I think the Bucks did okay in the return. You still lose a 2-time NBA MVP and the face of your franchise. And I don't know that this trade, by the way, makes the Bucks better today, and I don't know that it makes the Miami Heat tremendously better. However,
that's what I want to get to.
Pat Riley probably not done, and I have an idea what he might be going after next.
Okay, would you like to share the idea, Daryl, on the radio?
That'd be LeBron James. I think he's going to try and get LeBron back to South Beach.
Well, honestly, to me, that would be a massive disappointment to somebody like me and many other Cavs fans who would be open. I know there are some that aren't, but many, and I think the big-time majority, would take LeBron, especially if this is the final year for that final curtain call. You know, part of it is not just nostalgia. Part of it is he's still really good.
Well, you remember leading up to when you read Lee Jenkins, in the words of LeBron James, "I'm coming home" letter on the air. Okay, I remember like it was yesterday. Prior to that, in the days leading up to it, the Cavaliers were making a slew of roster moves to clear the decks, clear the books, open up the space, right? And that's what got everybody thinking. They're like, oh, the Cavaliers are out here creating all of this salary cap room. They've got something up their sleeve. And then that bomb gets dropped on us that LeBron's coming back. Then the other bomb drops, Andrew Wiggins for Kevin Love. And now the Cavaliers have the new NBA version of the Big Three in LeBron James, Kevin Love, Kyrie Irving. Okay? You're not seeing any of that movement with the Cavaliers right now. They're still in the second apron. They haven't made any moves to get out of that yet. Now everyone believes that that's going to be the James Harden contract that'll do that for them, but the draft is tonight. And the conventional thought is right now the Cavaliers will trade out of the first round to collect multiple second-round picks so that they have, I guess, some
flexibility.
assets, going forward, and I guess they can save $1 million or a couple $1 million by doing this and whatnot. But they've not made any moves yet that make me believe, as much as I'm on board with a LeBron return, and as much as I have enjoyed the conversation with yourself and Ken and Nick Padone and others leading up to this offseason here, I don't see it happening right now because there's no movement from the Cavaliers. They're just kind of treading water. And all the messaging that's coming out of that organization through the reporters that cover the team, like Chris Fedor and Danny Cunningham and whatnot, is that, well, going to try and, improve on the margins and keep this thing intact. Our backcourt's going to be Donovan Mitchell and James Harden. We still believe in Evan Mobley. We love Jared Allen. I don't think that that's the right approach, number one. Number two, I don't think that's going to help them get any closer to winning another NBA championship. I think that they are still going to be one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference, but I don't think they have enough to kind of get over that hump. So, but they're not making any moves right now. And that's why as much as I enjoy the LeBron conversation, I'm sitting here like, yeah, okay, that would be a great storybook ending to what has been a spectacular career, right? Coming out of high school, the chosen one, all these things put on his shoulders, right? And I would say surpassed the hype from my standpoint. To come up as an 18-year-old kid out of Akron, Ohio, and be thought as the next coming in the NBA, and then to come to Cleveland. So he went to Miami and he came back to Cleveland, and now he's in LA. But you look at the totality of his career and what he's accomplished, and you can dwell on the four NBA championships all you want. You can dwell on his NBA Finals record. Not many dudes went to 8 straight NBA Finals. Okay, and in some of those finals runs, he carried his teams there.
Getting a retrospective right now from Daryl. Wow.
But think about that. What he accomplished. It'd be a great story if he came back to the Cavs to do the farewell tour. Thank you, NBA fans across the world. Right now, I don't see it happening because I'm not seeing the Cavaliers do anything to make it happen.
Well, right after the season ended, Dan Gilbert, your owner, tweeted out that they were nowhere near close enough. And it's a team that were one of the last 4 teams playing in the sport.
They were a distant fourth.
But that's normally celebrated. It wasn't. It wasn't here. The fans didn't buy into it. All I see is people say hard to watch. Obviously, the Toronto series should have never gone 7.
Pistons series should not have gone 7.
But, the Pistons were the 1 seed. You beat them. You won a game 7 in their place. Like, that, to me, normally comes with some credit. They didn't get any. Nobody seemed to care. And when the owner puts that out there, but at the same time, Kobe Altman gets in front of the microphone and basically makes it seem like they're going to walk it back.
Yeah.
I didn't believe him. I was more siding with Dan Gilbert. Now, was that a coping mechanism?
I thought for sure they were going to go get Giannis for Evan and then bring LeBron back. I was now I'll admit.
But neither was up to us.
I get it. I'll admit I was talking myself into that. I was hyping that up in my own head, but that's what I was convinced they were going to do. That after reading that post following Game 4 after the elimination from Dan Gilbert, I'm like, oh, he's not going to play around this offseason. He is really flaming mad.
But then they brought back Kenny Atkinson.
And by the way, that decision was made like literally the next day.
They didn't even sleep on it, really.
Well, they did, but like it was made less than 24 hours after they were eliminated. Okay? And I was shocked by that. Not that they kept Kenny, but that the decision came so quickly. Now, I think that was part of it to show organizational strength and stability. Okay? That there was no question, because Kobe said there was no question, despite what was speculated in the media or reported in the media, he was like, there was no question Kenny Atkinson was coming back next season.
Well, Daryl, I wanted to get your reaction, and it sets up an interesting question because obviously you're seeing a lot today of people note that Myles Garrett's been traded and Giannis has been traded. 2 of the best to play their sport currently have just been traded, less than a month apart?
Yeah.
And,
that's a heck of a month for the Hasslam Sports Group. Standing ovation.
And so the floor is yours, Daryl, because you compiled a list and you started going in on it. And then after a few minutes, I said, well, how about we save this for the radio? Because you now have what is a extensive resume for the owner of both the Cleveland Browns.
On the surface.
And the Milwaukee Bucks.
It's pretty terrible. It really is. But in fairness, the Miles trade, they did well. The Giannis trade, it appears they did well.
Oh, two positives.
Both moves they had to make. But on the surface, when you have to trade your two franchise players within a month, that doesn't look good for you as owners. Like, let's just be honest about it.
Yeah, the owner's never going to be popular.
100%. When you trade the faces of your franchise, both your NFL team and your NBA team, that just is not going to look good.
Well, CBS Sports say the Milwaukee Bucks have won the offseason.
So, shall I do this? Shall I do the Hasslam resume?
If you can fit it in.
I've been waiting my whole life for it.
All right, hang on. Let me take a deep breath because I'm going to need it.
You do like micro machines?
No, because
speed through it?
There's a lot here. So, first up, your Cleveland Browns. Since they took control of the team in October 2012, the Browns are 77, 144, and 1. They've now traded Myles Garrett. They traded for Deshaun Watson and gave out the worst contract in NFL history. They've had 6-time full-time head coaches, 5 full-time general managers, and no less than 25 different starting quarterbacks. That's a pretty good accomplishment by them. Short work. The Milwaukee Bucks, since they bought 25%, because they own 25% of that team, okay? But right now, they're the controlling governors with, I guess, how that whole ownership thing is structured. But since they bought into the Bucks, it's gone south in a hurry. Traded Giannis last night. The Bucks are 120 and 126. They just went through their first losing season in a decade, which ended a streak of 9 consecutive winning seasons. They've had 4 head coaches since taking over. Mike Budenholzer, fired after the 2023 playoffs. Adrian Griffin lasted 1 season. Doc Rivers, what a train wreck that was, for 2 years. And now Taylor Jenkins is their most recent hire. So now, to be fair, the Columbus Crew has won 2 MLS Cups, right? That's the term.
Notice Daryl did not lead with that.
Why didn't you lead with that,
why didn't you
Daryl?
lead with the titles?
Because does anyone really care about
some bias here, Daryl?
The Columbus
During
Crew
the FIBA World Cup?
Yeah, it's a
or
soccer
FIFA World
nation.
Cup?
The ratings have been humongous. USA on top of the soccer world right
we chant
now.
it now at games.
Yeah.
I know. No Scotland, no party.
And this is what you do. You come in, you denigrate the great Hasslam family, who have been, behind a lot of philanthropic endeavors.
They're building. They built 2 stadiums. They built the Crew Stadium. They're going to build the Dome in Brook Park,
which is supposed to be an economic boon to the region at whole.
Don't tell Dan Gilbert that.
I'm just saying, Daryl, let's be fair and balanced in your reporting here.
I mentioned the 2 titles for the Columbus
How many
Crew.
coaches again were you talking about?
4 for the Bucks, 6 for the Browns.
You know, it's funny.
I hear they have a great severance package, though.
Well, with the Bucks, I mean, it's a lot of the same stuff Dan Gilbert was doing to salvage the early LeBron years by any means necessary, whether it was executives, whether it was coaches, assistants.
Remember every trade deadline in the LeBron 1.0 era.
They got bigger and better every year.
Every year, it was a frantic race to the finish of the deadline.
How many guys were in the Wally Zerbiak deal, the Joe Smith deal?
Antoine Jameson.
Yep.
Every year the trade deadline was a scramble to put a team together for LeBron in the playoffs.
All right, let me ask you this. James Dolan just won a championship.
Yeah, good for him.
Is he a good owner now?
Yeah, because he got out of the way. I'm dead serious. If you look at a lot of the reaction that's coming out of New York these days, there's something that he was working on or preoccupied.
The Sphere.
The Sphere.
Yeah.
They're
building another.
They're crediting the Sphere in Las Vegas for the Knicks' success because the ownership was very, very involved in that and stepped away from the Knicks and let the Knicks kind of.
All right. Do you think Jimmy has done that
here?
Yeah. You think he stepped away a little more? Allowed Andrew Berry to do his work?
I think that they have done a good job of projecting that image. I don't know if he's actually stepped away though. You know what I mean? But they've done a really good job of projecting that. See the behind the scenes footage from this past draft where he's sitting at the side and you see Andrew Berry and the assistant GMs and Todd Monken all doing the work.
All right, how do you feel about Daryl's list? 216-474-0092. When we come back, what is the upside for the quarterback that the league seems to be paying attention to that, had some issues with the gambling? We'll get to that. We come back, plus Coach Riz at 9 o'clock here, Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan. Anthony Lima 4.
92.3 The Fan, brought to you by Expert Renovations. ExpertRenovations.LLC.com. Whether you're at the ballpark, on the golf course, or doing nothing at all, get the Cleveland sports news at 92.3thefan.com or use the Odyssey app.
It was very interesting. Owen was just telling me off the air. He was down in Florida. He made his triumphant return today. And he's talking to people that are... You were in Ohio State bar, right?
I was.
And you just happened to be there in Fort Myers, and you're talking to patrons there, and they're just talking about the Cleveland sports scene. And what did they not really know about or care about?
Well, there was two things. The dome thing was not as big of a deal for them. You know, they might come up, I would guess. You know, some of them were Clevelanders. There's a lot of Cleveland people down there. So the dome moving, and I'm like, oh, we've had some knockdown, drag out battles about the dome and the placement of the proximity of it to actual Cleveland and all that. And then, so that was a big deal. The other big deal that really, I don't know if it threw me off. It's just a change of pace from what we've been doing. I would talk about, what's going on. I'm like, well, Sorsby. I mean, everybody's talking about Sorsby, and they're like, who? Brendan Sorsby.
Which, to be fair, is what anybody here would have said 3 months ago, right?
Yeah.
A month and a half ago.
Yeah. And, this is one of the big criticisms I've gotten on social media when I've talked about, hey, taking a stab. It's not that I proclaim Brendan Sorsby to be a can't-miss prospect or anything like that. Far from it. I mean, his tape is all over the map. It's his traits. His traits are, undeniable. But does that mean he's going to be a good football player? Zach Wilson had great traits. Not a good quarterback. So, admittedly, I will take some blame on this. We were not talking about Brendan Sorsby. It was always Arch Manning.
Yeah.
Next year. And I think it's because of Arch. It was an easy guy to say the 2027 class, Arch Manning.
Well, it's also
but we were
because,
saying the class.
Yeah, but it's also because of the Hasslam family relationship with the Manning family.
That's true, but wouldn't you say anywhere in the country they've been talking about Arch Manning?
Well, which, by the way, is so strong that they've yet to lure Peyton Manning to Cleveland to run the Browns. Remember those rumors years ago?
We've got a guy to run the Browns. What are you talking about? What's the problem?
I'm just saying that, way back when they bought the team in that for the first 4 or 5 years of their ownership, and especially as things kept going from bad to worse under their ownership, it was like, oh, they're going to try and get Peyton Manning in here to do the Mike Holmgren thing and run the Browns. Well, we did not need a Mike Holmgren 2.0 situation. Mike Holmgren 1.0 was bad enough. But no, I think that's where I remember last year, because the Haslams always make themselves available for questions. Usually the first week of training camp, first weekend, I should say, of training camp. It's usually on a Saturday. And the first question of their media availability last year was about Arch Manning. Remember that?
I do.
That was the first question they got asked. And Jimmy was like, well, I'm pretty sure Arch is going to be going back to school. Turns out Jimmy was right. Arch did go back to school. Also, too, probably the right move considering the season that Arch had last year.
Now, I thought he came on at the end of the year, but whatever.
Yes, he did, but still.
Obviously, it was more about Manning than it was about anybody else. But we know how that is a year ahead of time. But now we have this bizarre scenario where you have anytime somebody's available in the supplemental, why are they available? Something bad happened.
Yes.
And for him, it was treated as if it was one of the worst transgressions in the history of college football. And the point that I've been making about Brendan Sorsby is I don't think it's nearly as bad as you think. Ken vehemently disagrees. Maybe you vehemently disagree with me.
Yeah, because the one thing you cannot do is bet on the sport you play. It goes to the integrity of the game. Now, I'm not saying that he did anything to compromise the integrity of the game. I'm going to be very, very clear about that. But it's very easy to make that accusation or draw that conclusion if you don't really have an understanding of what he did. But the fact that it's well known that he had this gambling issue, he can potentially be compromised. You see,
I went down that path.
You get in debt. You get whatever, right?
Sure.
So that and I've said this, you can do a lot of unsavory things in the NFL. You can be accused of beating your spouse. You can be accused of violent crime. You can be accused of
murder,
sexual assault, or
murder,
those type of transgressions.
Don't forget murder.
Murder's up there. Yeah.
But as long as you're a star player and you can play at a high level, they will look the other way.
That's the question. Can
right?
he play at a high level?
But the one thing you can't do is gamble. Like that is...
Well, Calvin Ridley gambled, and he's still eligible after a suspension.
Well, yeah. I mean...
Yeah. But whatever. We'll have plenty of time to delve into Brendan Sorsby. We'll get the latest from Coach Riz when he joins us 10 minutes from now. We'll see what his official evaluation is. I know he's done a lot of it on social media. But here is Jordan Rodgers, the brother of Aaron Rodgers, who is a TV football commentator. Here's what he had to say about perhaps the ceiling. What's his evaluation of Brendan Sorsby?
Yeah, I think he's got a higher ceiling than Mendoza and Simpson. I don't mean that he's a better player now. Both of those guys were drafted because their floor is extremely high. They are pro-ready. But from a pure talent standpoint, arm ability and athletic ability, he's got a higher ceiling. Now, he's got some things he's got to clean up, and I think he will. But if you're Arizona, you drafted Carson Beck, the Steelers who drafted Drew Aller, and the Jets who drafted Cade Klubnik, he's better than all those guys. Get a second or third round pick, take him, develop him. He can be a franchise guy. Those three teams haven't found their quarterback yet. They got a chance to do so in the supplemental draft.
All right, audio courtesy of ESPN. And you're seeing more and more of this. Guys are talking about his traits, his ceiling, his athleticism, and it's driving fans mad, especially who? The Shedeur Sanders fans.
Right.
And they are letting everybody know that these two actually went up against each other as quarterbacks can, I guess, play each other.
Their teams play each other.
Right. And Shedeur got the best of them. And as you have seen and as I've noted, it's been some ugly end of the seasons for Brendan Sorsby. And nobody is here saying that Brendan Sorsby has been this elite quarterback. I do think if he would have gone to Texas Tech this year and played on that loaded roster, remember they made him the highest or one of the highest paid players in college football this year.
NIL.
He was set to because they valued him, obviously.
Well, Dan Brugler said he had a third-round grade, and that's why he went back to college.
Yeah. And I think third-round grades, they get drafted in the second round, most of them, when they're quarterbacks, right, because of the inflation. But I think that's accurate, right? I think that's fair to say. And then people say, well, wait a second. Why are people saying he'd be a top 5 pick next year? That's how it works. Like Fernando Mendoza made his way up.
Yes.
Some people had him as a second rounder. Had he have come out the year before, he played his way up. Cam Ward famously played his way up. You can also go the opposite way.
Play
Drew Aller, play down. The LSU kid. There's a ton of them. There's a ton of them that go south. Daryl, do you think the Browns are going to put a bid on this kid?
Yes. I just don't know if they will ultimately place the winning bid. But, yeah, they're going to bid. The gambling conversation for me right now has stalled out. That is what it is, okay?
Well, teams are gonna follow up and ask questions.
I'm just talking about our discourse. Now, I think is he better than everything that the Browns have in the quarterback room? Okay, that's what Andrew Berry has to decide. You
think that matters if he's better now?
Yes, absolutely.
Boy, I don't know about that.
Yes, if Andrew Berry thinks he's better than Shedeur Sanders. Yeah.
Well, okay, then that'd be a no-brainer.
Does he think he's better than Taylon Green?
Okay.
Does he think he's better than Deshaun Watson? Does he think he's better than Dylan Gabriel?
We're going to have a disagreement here slightly.
No, I'm not saying that he is. I'm saying those are the questions that Andrew Berry has to ask and answer when deciding whether or not he's going to place a bid.
This is great. I want to follow up on this. We have Coach Riz, Lance Reisling, coming up around the corner. Does he have to be better than Shedeur Sanders right now for the Browns to offer one of their draft picks in next year's draft class? That's straight up ahead, the 9 o'clock hour next on 92.3 The Fan. Anthony Lima for Expert Renovations. It's the Lifetime Protection Plan.
Cavs every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
Your mornings are about to change with 92.3 The Fan. We're going local at 5 a.m. It's The Fan Warm-Up Show with Jeff Thomas. All the latest from the night before in Cleveland sports and getting your day started even earlier. We are Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
I absolutely love organic conversation and what just happened with Daryl. Because you were doing your checklist of whether or not the Browns, what they should factor in when putting a bid in, if they so choose to, on Brendan Sorsby. And what was the one thing that I abruptly stopped the conversation because I wanted to ask Coach Riz? What was it? Do you remember?
No, I don't.
I can tell you what it is. Daryl, you just came in. You can't have a foot out the door already on a Monday. It was whether or not Tuesday, whether or not Brendan Sorsby is better currently than Shedeur Sanders.
Well, that was the question I
asked. What does that matter?
Yeah, it absolutely matters.
Well, this is interesting because Lance Reisling, Coach Riz on the Wise Heart Right, We Make It Right, Call Kyle Wright hotline. He joins us now, an astute observer of the game. He's coached for many years. He knows every level of football. And Coach Riz, you just heard what Daryl said and how I stopped the conversation. Does it matter to you whether this prospect who's also considered a project in Brendan Sorsby is better than Shedeur Sanders right now?
It does, because, if you look at the Browns over the last, obviously since they came back, but the Browns, for me, as a coach, they have to prioritize winning right now. And I don't think Brendan Sorsby is better than Shedeur Sanders or Deshaun Watson right now. And I don't think he helps you beat Jacksonville. And as a coach, I kind of look at it through that lens, because when you start looking too far ahead, that's when things start. You're always preparing for what's next. And I learned a long time ago, if you always prepare for what's next, you're usually not a part of it. And the Browns have to control what they can control. And for me, I think he's got elite traits. There's no question. He's got first-round traits. However, when you're trying to win right now, I don't know if that helps you. And the improvements that you've made on this football team, and once again, it's not about giving guys a chance or seeing what Shedeur has. I don't believe any of that. I believe in what do you have to do to win in week 1 in Jacksonville. And I don't think Sorsby helps you that. And I think of it from a football perspective. Because he is a talented guy, he's coming in and he's taking reps. And he's going to take reps away from whoever the starter is. And he's probably not going to be the starter. And if he's not going to be the starter, then those reps need to go to the guy that's going to help you beat Jacksonville. So I look at it from a different view. However, I'm also not as high on Sorsby as others. I have him 9th on my board if he was to come out last year. Not 9th on the total board, 9th on my quarterback board. So I think he's a talented guy, but I think the Browns, I don't think they are settled into who they have, but they have to make sure that the guy that they have is going to be the quarterback that helps you win in Jacksonville.
Well, Coach, listen, if he's 9th on the board, then no, I'm not putting in a bid. I've always been doing this under the assumption, hypothetically, that the Browns might have had him. We had Jordan Rodgers, his commentary on where he said that he had a higher ceiling than Ty Simpson and Mendoza. And look, I know we're talking ceiling versus the here and now. I wouldn't be shocked if the Browns had Shedeur higher right now than Sorsby. Obviously, he had more college games and he has NFL experience. But it is my argument that we're talking about him in terms of he is a project. He's a dart you throw. And if you want to put a 3rd-round pick in the supplemental, I can understand. To me, that makes sense when it's hard to come by guys with these types of traits in the 3rd round. That's all I'm saying when it comes to Sorsby.
Yeah, you got a guy who, it's interesting because you look at all his stuff and you look at his games. He threw for over 7,000 yards. Really intriguing. He's had over 1,200 yards rushing in his career. He's got 36 total touchdowns. So he does a bunch of things really, really well when you watch him on film. The game that pushed me away from him just a little bit is the Utah game. And I'm a big Kyle Whittingham fan and what they do on defense. And it's very NFL-based where they're going to keep everything in front. They're going to force you to do things that you don't like to do, or maybe it's not in your what you do best, I want to say. So when you look at him, they kept Sorsby in the pocket. they made him get to the second or third progression. They didn't let him get outside the pocket because that's where he's really, really dangerous. If you think of like a Patrick Mahomes kind of thing, well, there's only one Patrick Mahomes, and you have to throw from structure in the pocket a bunch in the NFL. And if you watch Patrick Mahomes, even though everybody talks about his off-platform throws, where he's really, really good is from the pocket within the system, getting to his second and third progression. That's where, for me, that's where I saw Sorsby struggle against Utah, because Utah said, you know what, we know how talented you are. We're going to keep you in the pocket. We're going to take away your first read. We're going to keep everything in front. So we're going to keep those scramble plays where the DBs don't stay connected and you get that ball down the field. And we're going to make you beat us methodically down the field. And he struggled against Utah. Arizona, he struggled against Arizona. Now, all the physical traits are there. And once again, it doesn't take 32 guys to like him. It takes one. And I understand that. But for me, that Utah game is what took me off him just a little bit, just because of the fact Utah does what NFL guys, these NFL coordinators, that's what they do for a living. They're going to make you beat them with what you do the worst. And for me, I don't know if that, once again, could that get better? Absolutely. But then again, it goes back to what how I always think about it. I'm trying to win week one. And that's where the Browns I think their focus has to be, not worried about next year or developmental, another guy, all that kind of stuff. What do we have to do to win week one in Jacksonville? And then you move on from there.
Well, if they do select Brendan Sorsby or they bid on him and they win the thing, somebody's getting voted off the island. Now, there's only 2 quarterbacks that are guaranteed to make this roster right now. That's Jaylen Green and Deshaun Watson. Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders, there's no guarantee for either one of them. But I hypothesize that if they get Sorsby, Shedeur goes. That's 2 quarterbacks that you will have picked after Shedeur Sanders. And I don't know, I think that the Browns would then be telling you what they really thought of Shedeur.
Well, it does. And Daryl, it does tell you what, the obvious, he doesn't fit what they want in the future. And I'm a Dillon Gabriel fan, and I have been, and I've been on that mountain alone, and that's okay.
You're going to die on that hill, my friend.
That's right, and I'm okay with that. But here's, when you look at Dillon Gabriel, he doesn't fit what this new offense is. And he's a system-based guy who needs help around him, and a lot of help around him. And that's a Stefanski offense. That's not a Todd Monken offense. So it's going to be tough for Dillon to make this team, even though I like him, and I think he could be a great backup and provide a lot of things. Jaylen Green gives you a great, at the worst, gives you a great scout team quarterback, which is so important, for a defense when you face Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. So that's an underrated thing that Jaylen Green brings to the equation. If you take Brendan Sorsby, then I think you are saying that it tells you that one is Deshaun Watson has played at a much higher level, not on the field because there's been some issues with some accuracy, but the ability to get him in the right play, the processing, the health, all those kind of things that we talk about. They think really highly of Deshaun Watson, not because of the contract, but because he helps them win week one. And then, it tells you we need to find, we're going to throw some darts at the board here for our quarterback of the future. And it does tell you that maybe that's not, that Sanders is not the route they're going. I wouldn't agree with that with Brendan Sorsby. But once again, that's the interesting thing about a quarterback evaluation. We all look at things differently. It's just like the quarterback competition during the summer. I viewed it differently than others, and I don't think others were wrong. It's just what you're looking at. I'm looking at footwork and fundamentals and processing and weight transfer and all those things that I think these guys have improved on. However, there were some missed throws, and it's a product-based league, so I see why other people said they didn't play well in the summer. So it's interesting. The quarterback position is a really tough one to evaluate. We all get it wrong. I just don't know if Sorsby is that guy that's going to change the narrative moving forward.
Coach Riz with us right now on the hotline. So we're talking about traits. Have you changed your evaluation of Shedeur Sanders and his traits over the course of, the last year, the last 6 months? Has any of that changed now that you've seen him in the NFL start 7 games and you've seen him in camp?
Yeah, watching him practice, it has. So when you go back to his Colorado days, even when you go back to Jackson State, so he didn't have much pass protection. And everybody talks about that lack of pass protection as he couldn't get through his progressions. Shedeur Sanders is a smart quarterback. Now, some of his bad habits came from lack of pass protection. Some of his bad habits came from trying to do too much, trying to play hero ball at times, which gets you in trouble as a quarterback. But a lot of that has to do with just, I didn't have pass protection. I thought Pat Shurmur, especially at Colorado, did a really nice job of how do we get the ball in space to our guys knowing we're not going to have a lot of time to throw it? Now, he comes into the league, and first time he's out there, even in practice, continuously retreats. And in the NFL, you can't do that. So over the course of 7 games, I thought that's improved. I think it's really improved. Now, he's had some accuracy issues, so has Deshaun Watson. But I've said this to everyone. Denzel Boston is going to run his curl differently than Casey Concepcion. That's good. That's a proven thing. And you would hope with reps that'll get cleaned up. The thing I'm looking for was the curl route that you missed. Is that the right place to go? And that's what I've seen from him, getting to his second, third progressions. Fundamentally, he's stepping up more than he is retreating. He's transferring his weight from his backside to his front side because he doesn't. Deshaun Watson has an elite arm. Shedeur Sanders has a good arm, but when you have a good arm, you need to make sure you transfer your weight from your backside to your front side. He does. He's doing a much better job of that. So, yeah, I see his poise, his control, his ability to get him into good run plays. They're doing a lot of those things already in camp where he's killing a bad run play one side, getting it to the other side, or changing it completely. So there's a lot of things going on besides the throws. Now, the next thing is it's a product-based league, so you got to make sure that not only you're going to the right spot, but it's accurate. And I think for both of those guys, that's what I'm looking for in camp is the accuracy. But if you ask me if he's gotten better, yes, there's been substantial improvement from all aspects of mechanics and fundamentals from his time in Colorado to where he is right now.
Nobody tracks off-season championships quite like we do here in Cleveland when it comes to the Browns. According to Josh Edwards of the NFL on CBS, he says the Browns won the offseason. So my question to you, Coach Riz, is can you win an offseason by trading your best player?
Well, and I was against the Myles Garrett trade, and I continue to say, I'm never for trading the best player. I'm never for doing that. But sometimes trading the best player can make the team dynamic a little bit better at times, and maybe that'll be the case. Myles Garrett is not the vocal leader everybody wanted him to be, but he's a heck of a football player. But the more I watch Jared Verse, he's not bad. And now you're going to have to – I say this all the time. When you go into when you play the Browns and you're the offensive coordinator, no matter who your left tackle is, that's your weakest offensive lineman going into that game because he's facing Myles Garrett. So all the rest of the defensive linemen get singles. And now it's, all right, now we need to help our right guard against, Mason Graham. We need to help our center when they shade Malik Collins. We need to make sure Alex Wright. So now offenses kind of don't have to think like that. So Jared Verse has to, what you're getting out of Myles Garrett. You assume what you're getting out of Jared Verse. Now, he's been awesome on film, and he's a leader and all those kind of things, but you got 23 sacks out of Myles Garrett. So that has to be made up somewhere. Now, here's why I think they've improved, though. Special teams is all about fundamentals, getting lined up and want to. You and I have watched it. They get after it every day with those, and they break it down, and special teams is important. That defense, even though Myles is gone, they brought in a guy who's pretty good, but Mason Graham's a year older. Carson Schwarzenegger's a year older. They have 2 elite corners. They've addressed the safety position, so that's now even stronger. If the nickel back doesn't work out, they can play three safeties. They haven't fixed the offensive line, but they've addressed it. Judkins looks healthy. Sampson looks healthy. The receiver position is deeper. They have an elite tight end. The tight end group as a whole has gotten better. So when I look at this roster, I say, you never get better. You win with players. As coaches, we get too much credit. You win with good players, and you don't ever want to get rid of great players. So yes, even though they got rid of their A+, I think they have a lot more B+ now on their roster, and I think that can be successful.
Wait. What a breakdown. Coach Riz joined us on the hotline. I know we've used up a lot of your time, but quickly, we didn't see Fannin. I know he was recovering from his surgery at the end of the year. Do you think he's going to get even more usage this year? And do you think that usage will be more effective than it was under the last coach?
Well, now you have Jerry Jeudy, you have Boston, you have Casey Concepcion, and you have Isaiah Bond, who I think had a great, probably the best summer of all those receivers, even though, it's his second-year guy, but he was really impressive. So now what you've created with an offensive line that you think is going to be better, a running game that should be very solid, now you've created balance on this offense. So you're number one. Everybody says that the Browns don't have a number one receiver. Well, for me, they have four pretty solid receivers. And if you have four pretty solid receivers, your alpha, your number one is Harold Fannin. And what you've created for your quarterback is now defenses have to play balanced because you have receivers who are capable of getting open and making plays. Are they Jamar Chase? No, they're not, but they're pretty good receivers. At least so far they are. We have to see what they do when games start. But now a quarterback is going to see a balanced look. You're not going to get double teams on Fannin. You're going to get Fannin against backers and safeties more than you're going to get a corner on him because the Browns have capable receivers. And then if you play nickel and you get linebackers out of there because you don't want a linebacker, you're assuming that you can run the ball better because the best way to run the ball is have less guys to block. So I think that I'm not sure the quantity. Maybe he doesn't have as many, but I think the quality and the amount of yards he gets are going to be outstanding because he's going to be in really favorable matchups when he catches the ball.
Coach Riz, let's do it again sometime. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys. We'll talk soon.
All right, there he is. Lance Reisler, 92.3 The Fan, and Cleveland.com on the Weishart Right. We make it right. Call Kyle Wright hotline. All right, some reaction to some of what Coach Riz thinks. He agreed with you, Daryl, that wouldn't make a lot of sense based on current evaluations for Sorsby ahead of Shedeur and to put a bid in the supplemental. I want to react to that. Plus, we know the Giannis sweepstakes have come to a close, but did it just open up the Jaylen Brown sweepstakes? And how did the Cavs figure into all that talk? We will hear from one prominent NBA pundit right after the break. All that and more coming up here on Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan. XT.
I don't think Brendan Sorsby is better than Shedeur Sanders or Deshaun Watson right now. And I don't think he helps you beat Jacksonville. And as a coach, I kind of look at it through that lens. You're always preparing for what's next. I learned a long time ago, if you always prepare for what's next, you're usually not a part of it. And the Browns have to control what they can control. And for me, I think he's got elite traits. However, when you're trying to win right now, I don't know if that helps you.
Coach Riz moments ago as we continue to monitor the situation in the NBA and how it impacts the Cavaliers. We'll get to that in a second. Daryl Ryder is closing the show here for Ken Carman. Daryl.
I feel like the Bob Wickman or Cade Smith of the show.
Well, and
we brought him in the eighth.
We brought him in earlier. That's right. Did it cost the Guardians the game? We went over that. All right.
Is Daryl going to cost us the show?
I think I already did.
It's a good question, Owen. That's fair. Nice. Fair question. All right. Daryl, maybe you'd be surprised to hear this. Someone like me who has led the charge on talking Brendan Sorsby, but
you really want him, don't you?
Well, no, I didn't say if I really wanted him, I'd say, well, you got to bid a first-round pick. I'm not saying that.
That'd be insane.
He's he's very incomplete. His tape is all over the place.
I think the highest I would go would be a third.
I'm saying third, but if I'm saying third, what happens in the NFL? Aren't I really saying, well, last second, throw a second in instead? Isn't that what happens with quarterbacks in the NFL anyway? Like, they always go around earlier unless they're, top 5, top 10 or whatever. They always go earlier than they're supposed to. I think we've seen that forever in the NFL. But Shedeur is probably better today than Brendan Sorsby. He's got a lot more experience. But that's not what a draft is. The draft isn't, is the guy better today? Now, Coach just came on, and what did he say? He's thinking of it like a coach and getting ready for Jacksonville. Well, Sorsby, no, that's not helping you in the Jacksonville game. Nope. And that's not why you take this dude. You take this dude if you think he can be really good. That's what a draft is. That's what a prospect is. We're not picking guys because they're finished. The NBA draft is tonight. What is the NBA famous for? You're drafting, trying to figure out what guys can be in 5 years.
Yeah, you're projecting.
Yeah. Baseball, that's what that is too. NFL, guys can come in right away. Not that, look, LeBron can come in right away. That's
guessing.
Different.
You're guessing.
Of course.
That's all it is.
Of course, but you're taking into consideration work ethic, character, which is obviously something that is being brought up a lot in tandem anytime the Brendan Sorsby name comes up.
As it should.
But you're looking at traits. Yeah, I think Brendan Sorsby's traits are way better than Shedeur Sanders. Are you betting on him becoming a better player down the road than Shedeur? That's why, to me,
you could argue Taylor Green's traits.
Well, yeah,
is what, but that doesn't mean that they're the better player.
Yeah, now he's way more raw.
Yes.
Than Brendan Sorsby, but Sorsby has got some freakish athleticism. Somebody said, I can't remember which of the many pundits are out there, but they're like, yeah, he's more of a freak than Kyler Murray was coming out. Kyler Murray went number 1 overall.
Right.
And he's obviously got the size advantage.
I was going to say Sorsby's obviously bigger.
Now, Kyler Murray, better college career.
Right.
But again, there are lots of guys that are better in college that don't amount to anything in the NFL too. So I think what's being lost in any of these conversations is what the definition of a prospect is, what a draft is. The draft isn't, hey, take the guys that are best in college. That's not what a draft is. It's about who can be better in the NFL. And if you guys seem to have more trust in Andrew Berry than you've ever had, right? That seems to be what I've heard from a lot of Browns fans.
The last 2 drafts have, I think, earned him some well-deserved trust.
Okay. So
the previous 4 drafts, not so much, but the last 2 where he's actually had first and second round picks and multiples at that, yeah. Andrew's done a very good job using those assets, at least on paper, right? Last year's class performed very well on the field. This year's class looks like they're going to perform well on the field. Remains to be seen if they actually do that. If they do live up to that, then yeah. But it's all a projection. Look at Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, right? from a MAC school, Toledo, and that's no shade, no disrespect to the
They've
MAC.
sent a lot of guys to the NFL.
Harold Fannin Jr. was fantastic for the Browns last year. Came from Bowling Green, right? So you can find really good players in that conference. Ben Roethlisberger, like the list goes on and on. But when you're talking about Sorsby specifically, you have to project. If you place a bid on him, you're projecting that he is going to grow into your franchise quarterback. Like that's the projection. That's not a flyer. That's not a Shedeur Sanders or a Jaylen Green situation where Shedeur's there in the 5th round. Okay, let's call Philadelphia, give him the rest of our draft, and go ahead and take the kid. Why not? Okay? Same thing with Jaylen Green. Oh, he's there in the 6th round. We know other people are going to be interested, maybe some in our own division. Yeah, why not? He's got the physical skills, very raw player, but why not? Like Shedeur and Jaylen were both why not selections. Okay? Sorsby cannot be a why not, and that's why I made the point earlier about if you do win the bid, you place the bid, you win him in the supplemental, Shedeur has to go because there's no future for Shedeur here. That is not a why not.
Does he have to
thing.
go immediately?
Yeah, I kind of think so, because now you got 5 quarterbacks. Either that or you cut Dillon.
Well, Dillon makes no sense anyway because of the way they're building the offense.
Right.
Coach Riz talked about that. He's a lefty. Like, that doesn't jive.
And then if the Browns really wanted to have some fun, we could have a 3-man quarterback competition.
Well, we did 4 last year.
Sorsby could be a late entrant.
Yeah, I just... I don't know.
So to Coach Riz's point about whether or not he can help you win in Jacksonville, I don't know. Well, what if they draft him, throw him in the quarterback competition, he wins the quarterback competition?
I just don't think
I know it's far-fetched.
From an Andrew Berry perspective, the minute you traded Myles Garrett, this year was not the end all. Now, you'd like to have adequate enough quarterback play so you can evaluate your receivers and your offensive line. Part of the problem with Deshaun Watson and I have to say Shedeur last year is it's tough to evaluate an offensive line. You can say they're bad or whatever, but these guys also walk themselves into a ton of sacks. That's Watson. That was his biggest issue to me. Like, forget about, his mechanics, his accuracy. Right. He was also walking into disastrous sacks that ended drives. Guys, Shedeur did the same thing. Did the exact same thing. And you guys just said it was the offensive line. That's not how they were graded. A lot of his sacks were graded his fault, where he wasn't making reads. He wasn't getting rid of the ball when he needed to. And the line wasn't good. Nobody graded the line good. But a lot of his sacks, if you look at him individually, and I bet you the Browns would agree privately, a lot of those sacks were not on the offensive line. Yeah. They were on him just
he ran into
being he's a young quarterback. Right. Young quarterbacks are going to do that. The problem with Deshaun Watson is he's not a young quarterback, and he still does that. So I don't think that's going to magically go away.
I still stand by what I have said repeatedly this offseason. I see no value in starting Deshaun Watson in week 1, both short-term and long-term. 1, I don't think he has it anymore. And number 2, you just slow up whatever evaluation and progress you're trying to make with Shedeur. I don't see the value there.
Okay, we'll leave that there. Big NBA news this morning that a lot of people woke up to, which was Giannis is now a member of the Miami Heat. What does that do to the Eastern Conference pecking order? But first, what does it mean for the sweepstakes that could be coming for Jaylen Brown?
Boston is in a situation where they have put for the whole world out there Jaylen Brown, their finals MVP. They, of course, knew it was possible they were going to lose to Miami. They wanted to win. They made a very strong offer, but they were not willing to put their entire team in. They were not willing to put other pieces in because on the other side of this trade, they had to have a team. And so now what I expect to happen is a bidding war for Jaylen Brown from other teams in the league. In the most recent days, teams have been preparing for this eventuality, that it wouldn't be the Boston Celtics who won the Giannis sweepstakes and that there would be a Jaylen Brown market. And so we're going to watch that. I think it'll take some time to play out, but if there's a draft pick involved, it could happen today. I don't think that's likely, but it could happen today.
With the draft tonight, audio courtesy of ESPN and Brian Windhorst. So that's interesting. The Giannis stuff, we've been belaboring it seems like, for 3 years. Now it's Jaylen Brown's turn. And why is this significant? Is he as good as Giannis? No. But what do we know about Jaylen Brown? He, to me, single-handedly took the Celtics to what seed did they finish the season with? They were incredible this
2
year,
seed.
despite no Jason Tatum until the very end of the year.
Would you trade Evan for Jaylen Brown?
So I talked to Ken Carman at 3:30 in the morning on my way in about that. And I paused and I said, I don't think so. Give me another week and I might be there. Now, will they have a week? He's better than Evan Mobley today. We just talked about this with the quarterbacks as prospects.
I think the question the Cavs really have to ask themselves is Evan Mobley ever going to get where they want and expect him to be?
Yeah, will he ever be as good as Jaylen Brown?
He's a really good player, all right? But let's be honest about the Defensive Player of the Year. If Wemby's healthy, Mobley doesn't even come close to winning that award, okay? That's number one. Number two, he's not I realize he's a young player, but he's going into his sixth season now. At some point, you got to break through. He can't create his own stuff, right? I cringe when I
he has
see
no
him.
pet moves.
Yeah, nothing. Okay, so I kind of feel like, how long do you wait for Evan Mobley to turn into the player you thought he was going to be? And that is like a top 5 player in the NBA, right? Now, I don't think he's close to that conversation right now.
I've kind of given up that he's ever going to be a top 5. But
then why wouldn't you trade him for Jaylen Brown?
Hold on. Well, part of it is Jaylen Brown's turning 30. He's a physical player, right? He's not ever been like a speedster, like a smoke you off the dribble. So you would think that could age okay. At the same time, his shooting, the variance kind of up and down as far as the three-pointer goes. Defensively, I think he is really good. And I think he is, one of those elusive two-way stud wings that are impossible to get unless you draft them. They're so hard to get. And the Cavs have not been able to get them. I mean, that's why they're starting Dean Wade or Max Strus. When we're talking about those guys having to guard wings and then also create on offense.
What's more important in today's NBA?
It's the wing.
Right.
Oh, the wing is everything. Like, the guards can get you through the regular season, can help you win a bunch of games. We won 60-some games.
And if you keep Jared Allen, you have your rim protector and your big guy, right?
Yes.
I'm not advocating for it, but I think it's a fascinating conversation to consider.
Well, I'm curious where the fans are.
I might
on this
actually like Evan for Jaylen Brown over Evan for Giannis, to be perfectly honest with you.
All right, let me hear from the fans on this. 216-474-0092, because it's all about keeping up with the Joneses. Do you think now the Cavs, with the Knicks winning the championship, the Heat making their big move, Detroit is looking to definitely add scorer, playmaker. The draft is tonight. What about the Indiana Pacers? Remember them, the team that knocked you out a year ago? Halliburton's going to be back. What do the Cavs need to do, and do they need to start to think about Jaylen Brown as a vital member of this next iteration of the Cavs? That's all straight ahead on Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/team. That's ZipRecruiter.com/team.
ZipRecruiter. Multitask this summer with your smart speaker. Crank up the Cleveland sports scene. And when you say play 92.3 The Fan.
All right, it's been a busy day because, the NBA draft is tonight. I know that hasn't really been on anybody's radar.
Oh, yeah, we've talked about it a ton.
Cavs have the 29th pick, those that are still keeping track of those things.
First round?
They do. They don't have any second-round picks, but they might after tonight.
So you know what? This is what kind of stinks, is that you're one of the last 4 teams standing, which normally means, hey, good problem to have. Pick number 29. The only problem is all you guys seem to be miserable about the Cavs. So that's the worst of both worlds. You didn't like their run to the Final Four of the NBA, and now you have to sit there and talk about probably trading down out of 29 so they can save money so they have any flexibility whatsoever.
It wasn't really a fun run to the Final Four of the NBA. Like, really? Was it all that fun?
They did play the most games you could possibly play getting to the
Let me ask you this. Is it because you guys don't really know people from Detroit and Toronto? Like, if Pittsburgh had an NBA team.
I know people from Detroit. That it doesn't register on a level of let's get in a basketball fight about it.
So why is that? Why is that? Especially like the first LeBron go around, we had a thing going with Detroit. Baseball, when it was the arms race with Detroit, spending all that money.
Right.
We had something going with Detroit. Why
mid-aughts?
Why is it that beating them in a Game 7 on the road and ending the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, ending their season, when did that become something not awesome?
I don't think that anybody ever said it wasn't awesome. I think it's not awesome when you get swept right after that, though.
That is exactly the point.
I don't find that awesome.
Yeah, that was not fun, especially after you blew a
San Antonio didn't have an awesome
22-point lead in Game 1 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I would say San Antonio, if you ask them, they probably did not feel like the finals were awesome.
So nobody has a successful year in the NBA anymore unless you win it all?
I haven't killed them for I said they should probably be a finals team this year. I didn't think that they were allowed to just stand on the same rung of the ladder for 3 seasons and then go one rung up and go, we did better, guys, especially when you get swept. And eventually it was the Knicks. And there's a lot of those outside factors where you can go, well, we played 14 games and they only played, they had a sweep with Philly right before that. They played 10 and then they got the same thing. They got to sweep the Cavs and then they got to play a not rested San Antonio team in the finals. I just don't think.
Now, the team hasn't done that. The team has not celebrated anything. So I know there have been Cavs teams in the past that I thought were way too celebratory about milestones and whatever. This team did not do that.
I mean, listen, the 2007 Cavs got swept in the NBA Finals by San Antonio, but that was arguably the worst NBA Finals team in history that LeBron
and also
carried.
Had you been a lifelong Cavs fan at that point, what had you had that was bigger than that moment? Right?
Exactly, right? So that's why that was celebrated the way it was. But I just feel like the payroll combined with the clock ticking on Donovan Mitchell, combined with the trade for James Harden that cost Darius Garland, who a lot of fans love. Like, I just think all those factors kind of dampened the enthusiasm about getting to the Eastern Conference Finals and then not making the NBA Finals. Because the expectations changed, I think, for a lot of fans. And also the fact that you struggle to get through Toronto in the first round. You struggle to get through Detroit in the second round, right? And you're sitting there thinking, wow, this team isn't nearly as good as we thought it was or expected it to be. And turns out you were right. They weren't. Of the final 4 teams, they're a distant 4th to San Antonio, Oklahoma City,
That's fair.
And New York.
Yeah.
Like there's a sizable gap between the Cavaliers and those other 3 teams, and you're now going into this offseason, Anthony, and even into tonight's draft. Like, is there really something that in tonight's draft at the 29th pick that's really going to help the Cavs and get them over the hump? Is there a move to be made by them this offseason that gets them over the hump? No, I don't think that there really is. But do I think they should run it back and maintain the status quo? No, because the East is going to be harder than it was this year.
Now, I know you're not doing this out of New York, but what would you have said about the Knicks a year ago when they got eliminated?
I probably would have said similar things. And look, the expectation next year for the Cavaliers is going to be what? NBA Finals or bust. Now, some folks might say that's unfair, but I think that's the reality, right? If they don't make the NBA Finals next year,
okay, so you're looking for paths forward for the Cavs, and it was going to be hard. There was nobody they were going to be able to bring in that was going to make them the championship, leader, or it was always Oklahoma City, obviously San Antonio,
how about
New York ahead of you.
How about you go Jaylen Brown and LeBron James? Does that get you over the hump?
You wouldn't be the favorites. But
it's not about being the favorites.
Yeah.
I don't care. You know what?
Yeah.
And I understand this is what we do, but
obviously, I'd be more excited.
We made the joke earlier about the Browns winning the offseason, right? It doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, right? That doesn't matter. That affects nothing this fall. Same thing with you're the favorites in the offseason. What does that do for you when you take the floor? I'm interested whether or not the pieces and parts fit together to get you over the hump. And so I'm asking the question, okay, what if they traded Evan for Jaylen Brown, and then they brought LeBron back for the farewell tour? Does that make the Cavaliers a better team and give them a better chance to win the NBA championship?
They'd be a better team. I think they'd have a better shot. Now, it also opens up more weaknesses because of Jaylen Brown, the type of defender he is compared to the type of defender that Evan Mobley is.
Because you already have two guys in your starting lineup, and that's your entire starting backcourt. They don't play defense.
Right. It's going to be tough.
Which is why they're starting Dean Wade, because they're like, well, we got to have somebody in the starting lineup that plays defense besides Evan Mobley.
And Evan behind those guards, along with.
But Evan doesn't create enough. That's the problem.
No, and as you saw in the playoffs, that matters more than almost anything.
Jaylen Brown can create.
He can hit.
James Harden can create. Donovan Mitchell can create.
It'd be nice
Jared
also.
Allen.
It'd be nice if James Harden wasn't your second option, or maybe at times during the playoffs your first option.
Yeah,
that should not be the case at 36 years old. Next year he'll be 37.
Right.
That doesn't make any sense to me.
But if what I propose makes you a better team next year, I think you got to explore it. I think you got to go for it.
So you're doing it right now. Daryl Ryder's ending the show saying goodbye, Evan Mobley. We're gonna go. We already went older with James Harden, and given the window, the extension,
is the window.
Yeah, the extension you're gonna have to give to Donovan Mitchell.
I don't have 3 more years to wait for Evan Mobley to become an MVP candidate. I don't.
Well, I told Ken it took Karl Anthony Towns till 30 for people to like his game.
No, I know it's not.
He was the number 1 overall pick. It took them to 30 years old.
It's not that I don't like Evan Mobley's game. That's not what I'm saying. I'm laser focused on trying to win a second NBA championship right now. This is the window. We know how hard it was to get to this point, right? It's taken 8 years to get to where the Cavaliers are right now. I'm about pushing it across the finish line. Whatever you got to do it. And if that means that you got to trade Evan Mobley to bring in a guy that can help you, because you get the trophy in the case, it's worth it. Ask the Los Angeles Rams. Ask the Toronto Raptors, right? To a lesser degree, the Milwaukee Bucks. You get the trophy in the case.
A lesser degree?
Because Giannis stayed there for a few more years after that, okay? But, you get the trophy in the case, it's worth it, and that's what it's about. So if I got to sacrifice Evan Mobley to bring in Jaylen Brown to get me over the hump and win an NBA championship, you do it.
Pour one out to the once famed Core 4. You've already moved on from Darius Garland. I guess you got to go even back further. Colin Sexton. This is all the evolution.
Back when it was fun to watch.
Back when that terrible team was fun to watch. The team that couldn't get out of the play-in. All right. Thank you for Daryl Ryder, for Ken Carman, for Coach Riz. Owen, welcome back. It's great to see you.
Can't wait to leave again.
Yeah, that's right. And John, terrific everybody. Jeff Thomas on the updates. And even our video man, Joey.
Is going to see how long it took.
All right. Baskin and Phelps up next here on Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
And what you do is you go to the phone line because you know they're smooth and they know they can rhyme. I know my rap is not the greatest.
Sounds good. Where's your entourage now?
Oh, boy.
This is an Odyssey Sports Minute.